A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
And now, the life of Mary Sothern. Mary is still unable to accept the fact of her husband's death. And Max is still more real to her than old friends or new acquaintances. Only David, the young man who befriended her when he found her wandering alone in the city of Craig's Falls, has succeeded in influencing her in any way. She has found contentment at Mrs. McPherson's boarding house, not knowing that Father Brady, David's good friend, has notified her friends in Sanders as soon as he learned her identity from newspaper stories. But Dr. John Benson has not yet arrived in Craig's Falls, and until last night, David hoped he would never come to take Mary home. Last night, however, while David and Mary were in a little lunchroom, a disreputable-looking man recognized Mary from her newspaper picture, and David fears unpleasant consequences. Now it is early the next morning. David has just entered Father Brady's office in the settlement house. Father Brady welcomes him.
Good morning, David. Come in.
Good morning, Father.
Well, what brings you here so early? I had an idea you slept late these winter mornings now that you're not working.
No, not this morning. As a matter of fact, I haven't slept all night. Father, have you had any word from Mary's friend, that Dr. Benson?
Still worrying about that, David?
Yes.
My housekeeper tells me he phoned last night before I came home.
Is he on his way?
I don't know. He left his name, but no message. I can't understand it. He doesn't seem to be in any great hurry to see Mary now that he knows where she is.
Yes, but he's got to hurry. We'll have to call him again.
Yes, I was going to suggest that, but when I talked to you yesterday, you were hoping he'd never come.
Well, I've changed my mind, Father. I don't want Mary to go away, but last night something happened that made me realize the sooner Dr. Benson gets here and identifies Mary, the better.
David, suppose you stop pacing the floor and sit down and tell me what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, Father. There, is that better?
Much better.
You know, I think Mary's in danger unless that reward offer is withdrawn.
In danger?
Yes.
I don't understand. What happened, David?
Well, last night, Mary and I took a walk, and we stopped in a little lunchroom. And while we were having coffee, she was recognized by one of those waterfront bums sitting near us.
Are you sure? Did he speak to her?
No, he started over to our table, but I managed to get Mary out of the place before he had a chance to say anything. He followed us, but we jumped on a bus, and I think we lost him.
But how do you know he was interested in Mary? Maybe he was going to ask you for money or a match.
No, I forgot to tell you. He had yesterday's newspaper, the one with Mary's picture in it, and the reward offer. And he kept looking at the paper and then at Mary. It was obvious that he knew who she was.
Did Mary know why he was staring at her?
No, but she was frightened. She knew something was wrong. But don't you see, if some crook recognizes her, why, anything could happen. She could be kidnapped and held somewhere until this Benson turned up with the reward money.
But David, $500 isn't enough to tempt a big racketeer.
No, but it's easy money for some petty thief. And besides, what's to prevent a crook from demanding more than $500? Knowing her friends are hunting for her.
I think you're exaggerating the danger. But I agree with you. The sooner her friends find her, the better. I'm going to call Dr. Benson again right now.
Oh, thanks, Father. I hoped you would. Try to make him understand how serious things are. I don't see why he didn't come yesterday.
But don't forget he's a doctor, David. He may have sick patients whom he couldn't leave, or he may be sick himself.
Yes.
Now, let me see. Where's that number? I had it right here. Oh, yes. Here it is. Sanders 531, please.
I hope he's there.
I'd rather hear that he's left Sanders and is on his way.
Yes.
Hello? Dr. Benson? Oh, I see. Well, do you know where I can reach him? This is Father Brady in Craig's Falls. Oh, yes. Well, that's fine. Thank you. Goodbye.
He wasn't there?
Good news at last.
Yes?
That was Benson's assistant. He said Dr. Benson is on his way here now. He should be here within an hour.
Well, I'm glad of it. I didn't realize until last night that I can't protect Mary any longer. She's sure to be recognized sooner or later with that reward offer and all the papers.
Yeah, I'm relieved. You've done a great deal for Mary, David, but it's been too heavy a responsibility for you. I'll be glad to have a doctor share it.
You think Mary really needs medical treatment, don't you, Father? You think she's mentally ill?
I'd say it was her heart and soul that have been hurt.
Oh, well, that's different. That's the way it seems to me. And I'll bet this Dr. Benson doesn't understand that. Maybe that's why Mary ran away. She says no one understands.
Don't judge Dr. Benson too harshly till you've met him, David. It seems to me that anyone who's ever known Mary understands the quality of her love. I'm sure her doctor knows, as we do, that it's taken her longer than it would take the average woman to recover from the shock of her husband's death.
I don't think it's unnatural for Mary to believe that her husband is still with her. I can understand loving a woman so deeply that you refuse to believe she's dead. Well, that is, I could have understood it once.
I know, David. And you'll feel that way again someday about a woman?
No, never. But I'm going out for a while until it's time for this doctor of Mary's to get here.
You're not going back to the boarding house to warn Mary? That is, to prepare her for Dr. Benson's visit?
No, Father. I tried to tell her yesterday, but I couldn't.
Well, I'm not going to advise you about that, David. I want you to do what you think best.
Father, if you'd seen her when I mentioned her old friends and asked her to tell me about them, but she looked so frightened, really frightened. Perhaps I'm a coward, but I just can't face her with this news. She's happy now, and I want her to be happy until the last possible minute, until this Dr. Benson gets here to take her back to San.
And at the same time, Mrs. McPherson enters the living room of the boarding house to find Mary staring with frightened eyes at a newspaper.
Mary.
Oh, Mrs. McPherson, I didn't hear you come in.
Mary, where did you find that paper?
Why, lying here on the table.
Oh, one of the boarders must have left it there. You've read that page? All of it?
Yes, I've read it and I've seen my picture.
Oh, what'll David say?
I didn't realize my friends would be so worried about me. I told them not to worry. I told them I'd be all right, that I'd be with Max.
Max?
Why can't they leave me alone? That's all I wanted, to be alone with Max. Why do they try to find me?
Well, seems natural enough to me. They're your friends, aren't they? You just called them that.
Yes, they were my friends once. A long, long time ago in another world. Now they seem so far away.
Well, they aren't so far away, son. There's your hometown's only 80 miles from here.
$500 reward will be paid for information concerning Mrs. Mary Sanders. John Benson and Daddy Stratford must have done that. And they've so little money, they shouldn't have done it. Don't they know Max told me to stay here?
Well, I guess they don't understand that. You can explain that to Dr. Benson when he comes. Oh.
Dr. Benson? When he comes? Oh, no. No, John isn't coming here. He can't.
But you just said that Dr. Benson was a friend once. I should think he'd be glad to
Oh,
see him.
you don't understand either. Nobody understands but Max. And David. Mrs. McPherson, David's seen this paper, hasn't he?
Well,
why, yes, of course. That's why the man in the lunchroom stared at me so. And that's why David hurried me out of there so fast. David does know, doesn't he?
well, he couldn't help seeing it,
Of
man.
course he knows. Does Father Brady know, too?
Oh, well, guess there's nothing to do but tell you the truth. Yes, David and Father Brady both know who you are. They didn't want you to see the picture in the paper. They were afraid you'd be upset.
David wouldn't tell John Benson. I'm sure he wouldn't. He promised he wouldn't send me away. But Father Brady would feel it his duty to notify John. John's on his way. He's coming to talk to me. He's going to try to take me back to Sandy.
Mary, I better get you some water. You're so white.
John's on his way. That's why I felt so strange. I knew something terrible was going to happen. He's coming here, and he may be here today.
Oh, Mary, please. We won't let him take you away if you don't want to go.
He'll talk about Max. He'll tell me Max is gone, that I'll never see him again or hear his voice.
Oh, Mary, why don't you go up to your room, rest a while? You look so tired. I'll bring you some nice hot tea.
Yes. Yes, I guess I will lie down. I think I've a headache.
Yeah, You'll feel better after you've had a nap. I'll go boil water for tea.
Max, darling, what shall I do? Please tell me. You don't want me to go back to Sanders with John, do you? You've told me so many times that my future is here in Craig's Falls. Max, where are you? I can't feel you near me. Max, darling, won't you speak to me? I need you to show me the way now as I never have before. Why don't you answer me, Max? Why don't you answer?
Will Mary hear Max's voice again? Or has this consolation been denied her? Will her meeting with John Benson take place tomorrow?
From Hollywood, California, and a naval base in Noumea, New Caledonia, Autolite brings you Everything for the Boys, the Command Theater of the Air, starring Mr. Ronald Coleman and his guest for tonight, Miss Ella Logan. Everything for the Boys is presented by the Electric Autolite Company and its 22 great manufacturing plants. Builders of precision equipment for 35 years. World famous for Autolite spark plugs, batteries, wire, cable, and electrical systems for automotive, aviation, and marine use. Here is your host, Mr. Ronald Coleman.
Thank you and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we offer a sprig of laurel laid upon the crypt of a deed. Gene Fowler's unforgettable and stirring story, The Jarvis Bay, goes down. We also have a charming guest, Miss Ella Logan, and the two of us will journey 7,000 miles to New Caledonia to talk with two American sailors. To them, and to all the men and women of the United Nations Armed Forces, we dedicate this global half hour.
A former Autolite employee, a fighter pilot recently returned from 11 months combat duty overseas who wears the Purple Heart, said, "In this war, it's not individual action, but teamwork that counts. And it's teamwork that counts on the home front. Teamwork in Autolite plants from coast to coast in the United States and Canada. For example, the Autolite Battery Corporation at Niagara Falls, New York, is one of 6 Autolite plants that builds batteries for combat cars, aircraft, and tanks. A big part of the work is in packing the batteries, packing them so that they can be shipped anywhere in the world without damage. It's hard and heavy work packing batteries, and sufficient help was not available. Then Autolite teamwork went into action. Canadian Murray Cherry, Irish John O'Shaughnessy, English Len Knight, full-blooded American Indian Chief Rickard, Italian Bill Curto, American William Reese. All office employees, assistant managers, inspectors, and executives made up an extra shift. They are giving 2 evenings a week to speeding the shipment of Autolite batteries to the fighting front in addition to their regular full-time duties. Teamwork is the United Nations way of winning the war. Teamwork is the Autolite way of getting precision-made equipment on schedule to the boys overseas. Now, here is Mr. Coleman again.
Caledonia. That's another name for Scotland. So it's fitting that for the boys in New Caledonia, we have a lass from Old Caledonia. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present our guest, Miss Ella Logan. Good evening, Ella. We're happy to welcome you home again after your trip overseas.
It's good to be home, Ronnie. But it was good being overseas working for the boys. I went over for 6 weeks and stayed for 5.5 months.
And you entertained thousands of them in North Africa, Italy, and Great Britain. Won't you tell us something about it, Ella?
Oh, gosh, Ronnie, I'm so full of speeches about what I saw, I'd have you hanging on the ropes if I started.
Well, while you were over there, were you able to do a show for the commandos?
Yes, for our American commanders. Only we don't call them commandos. They're called the United States Rangers. In fact, I dedicated a song to them.
And now you're going to sing it for us, hmm?
Surely. got a date with a ranger. I'm gonna meet him at 7. I got a date with a ranger, so I'm on my way to heaven. He's so powerful beside me, oh, let whatever betide me, 'cause I got my ranger to guide me, so I'm on my way to heaven. Oh, soon the bells, they will ring out, as with victory we sing out, then me and my ranger will swing out, as he beckons to me. I've been waiting a lifetime just for this evening at 7. I got a date with a ranger, so I'm on my way to heaven.
Thank you, Ella. That was grand.
Thanks. And, Ronnie, I understand you have a story about another fighting man. Now I'm going to listen to you.
Russian girl sniper holds back Nazi advance. Flyer crash dives jet destroyer. New Zealand infantry counterattacks Rommel tanks. Flying fort smash Ploesti oil fields. Marine heroes win Guad airstrip. Lone British flyer fights off Luftwaffe bombers.
The headlines pound at you day after day. Men fighting, dying. News of heroism brought by cable, wire, and radio from every corner of the earth.
Congressional Medal, Victoria Cross, Air Medal, Distinguished Service Cross. Colin Kelly, Jr., Dory Miller, Joe Foss.
So many headlines. So many heroes. A few days ago, Major Richard Bong. Before that, another flying hero, Captain Don Gentile. Remember Squadron Leader Hugh Gibson, the dam buster? Given the Victoria Cross for destroying the dams in Germany. And Sergeant Charles Kelly of the United States Infantry, who won the Congressional Medal of Honor. Belclere, the PT boatman. Miller, the first Negro to win the Navy Cross. Yes, Colin Kelly, Hugh Gibson, Finucane and Foss, Gentile and Bong, and what of Captain Fogarty Fagan, remember? Yes, what of Fogarty Fagan and the Merchant Marine? Remember the Jarvis Bay?
Bulletin from the London Bureau of Associated Press, November 6, 1940. The Admiralty reports the sinking of HMS Jarvis Bay while on convoy duty in mid-Atlantic.
She's an old freighter of some 14,000 tons standing in the roadstead of a port somewhere south of Singapore. She lists a bit as if wearied by the typhoons of the China Seas, by the whole gales of Tasman, by the turbulence of wind off Borneo. Her gear is obsolete, her iron skin blistered, pocked with rust. Her engines are rheumatic, and her sawtooth screw will yield less 14 knots. She is the old Jarvis Bay, of Australian registry, resting between tides from her obscure drudgeries somewhere south of Singapore. She nods at her mooring cables, head bent to the dry monsoon. The Jarvis Bay is nodding, half asleep, when a gig draws alongside, and there is brought aboard, solemnly, a flag with a blue field, a storied ensign, emblem of Britain's naval reserve. This of itself becomes a rousing circumstance to one so proud, so drably sleeping somewhere south of Singapore. Up the starboard ladderway there comes a new master, puffing somewhat with middle age. He looks about, he looks above, below, forward, aft he peers. His is the manner of a man recapturing a memory.
I'm on the ship again. My ship. The boards creak. The smell of tar and oil. Everything the same except myself.
He is Fogarty Fagan, called from retirement to command the Jarvis Bay. For 10 years, Fogarty Fagan has walked in his English garden, watching the roses bud, the violets bloom, enjoying each miracle of season that brings white blossoms to the hawthorn hedge. But now he has left his barrow and his slips to bring the storied ensign with its blue fields, blue as the violets of his garden, bringing it from afar to the old Jarvis Bay.
All right. Let's be at it. Lively, men.
His voice rolls against the breakwater. His big hands grasp the teakwood rail. He swears a bit, and finally the Jarvis Bay awakens. Soon a battery is supplied, a small one, guns of 5-inch caliber. Then, with 100 young reservists for her crew, the Jarvis Bay puts out to sea from somewhere south of Singapore. Captain Fogarty Fagan has a distant rendezvous with other old masters, summoned from retirement, called by their king from their little farms, from their office stools, from their fireside chairs, from the cities and the shires. The threefold war, earth, sky, sea, beggars the world. Ships go down, each day go down, and bottoms must be had to bear cargoes to Britain. Now, up comes the Jarvis Bay, up from tropical waters, through Suez, through the Strait of Gibraltar, out and across the Atlantic, and to the Americas. In a harbor of the north, and with brave haste, the old hulls are laded to their loading lines with cargoes for Britain. Captain Fogarty Fagan listens to the rumbling of winches, hears the Samson posts creak, hears the chains and blocks complain, harries his first officer, Mr. Wilson, with command. As things needful for the life beat of England's great heart are stowed aboard.
Hurry! Stand me, Mr. Wilson, sir. We're not sleeping now, Mr. Wilson. Somewhere south of Singapore.
From a Canadian bay, from behind the fog bank of November dawn, a convoy line puts out. 38 ships put out to sea with cargoes for Britain.
10,000 cases of powdered milk, 200 truckloads Red Cross supplies, 400 cases vitamin concentrate.
A consignment to help sustain the life beat of England.
100 cases surgical instruments, blood plasma, wool blankets.
Goods to provision an isle that for 1,000 years has prized the freedom and the dignity of man. The gun crews of the Jarvis Bay sleep beside their battery. They seem young seminars with parka hoods, cowling their heads to keep out the cold sea rime.
I can't sleep.
Why not?
I keep thinking about how I just got married.
Well, you better get some sleep then. You'll be home soon enough.
Night falls, a great and somber hymn. The night of November the 4th, 1940 years since our Lord, is an anthem of wind and small following sea. The morning comes like a priest upholding a golden monstrance. The morning of the 5th finds the Jarvis Bay and her convoy strung like a procession of pilgrims against the dawn. The ship's bell sounds. The practice rounds are fired. The sun is on the meridian, and Fogarty Fagan shoots the sun for latitude. 8 bells again, and Fogarty Fagan shoots the sun for longitude. And then at 5 o'clock, the lookout calls from the crow's nest.
Ships are off the starboard bow.
Through his glass, Fogarty Fagan makes out smoke, a black gargoyle in the sky, east for southeast. Then sights a ship hull down. And now, a battleship comes boiling over the horizon. She opens fire with heavy guns. Captain Fogarty Fagan telegraphs his engine room to strain the boilers till they burst. He bellows, curses, brings to bear the pump guns of his battery against the Goliath armor of the battleship. Sends up smoke to screen the fleet. He orders all the convoy ships to scatter wide and fast. Then Fogarty Fagan sets out alone to meet the battleship. 5-inch guns against 11-inch guns. eggshell hull against truck plate. Damn me, Mr. Wilson, sir. We're not hearing mandolins today somewhere south of Singapore. This is a mad thing to do, this sea charge at the Jarvis Bay. Yet this sky of dead admirals looks down from the Grand Haven, looks down at Fogarty Fagan, whose senile tug steams bows on for the battleship. Nelson, Drake, Beatty, Harwood, yes, and the Americans, Porter, Farragut, and John Paul Jones, all look down in wonderment. And now a burst of shrapnel rakes the Jarvis Bay and tears the right arm from the sleeve of Fogarty Fagan. He does not fall. He grasps the teakwood rail with his other hand, masking his agony with bellowings that rise above the guns. Nor will he let a tourniquet be placed upon the stump. He waves the stump. And Mr. Wilson knows, and the sky of dead admirals know, that if a hand were there, it would be making a great fist. Still steaming toward the battleship, Fogarty Fagan keeps his little guns ablast. The eyes of the setters and of the pointers grow black and blue from the recoils, their eardrums dead. The salvo comes with the top roll of the battleship. And now Jensen, emblem with the blue field, is shot away. Enraged, bloody, rocking on his heels, Fogarty Fagan roars, "Hoist another ensign, damn you, Mr. Wilson, sir! Hoist another flag that we may fight as Englishmen!" A boatswain procures a flag from the locker, a flag used for the burial of the dead at sea.
Yes, sir.
And to a brace he bends the banner of England. The Jarvis Bay, ablaze from stern to bow, at dusk still fires her puny guns and will not change her course. Salvos from turrets, guns 3 over 3, make great geysers grow about the old ship's weight, but still her guns give voice. And now she's struck below the waterline. Her boilers go. The Jarvis Bay begins to settle by the stern. Yet, sinking, still she faces her antagonist. Then the waters begin to close over her. The waters close over Fogarty Fagan and over the flag that once was used for burials at sea. And now night spreads its shroud. Of 38 ships in the convoy, 29 are saved, their cargoes saved, to help sustain the lifebeat of England. While from the sky, dead admirals look on and claim Captain Fogarty Fagan for their own. The Jarvis Bay goes down. Goes down as no mere casualty of storm, to rust out fathoms deep in common grave with sisters unremembered by the years. The Jarvis Bay, of Australian registry from somewhere south of Singapore, goes down in the history of an isle that for 1,000 years has prized the freedom and the dignity of man.
You have just heard Gene Fowler's memorable story, The Jarvis Bay Goes Down, as narrated by Ronald Coleman. The original musical score was composed by Major Meredith Wilson, and our orchestra and chorus was conducted by Gordon Jenkins. In a moment, Miss Ella Logan will join Mr. Coleman to talk with 2 American sailors stationed at an Allied base in Noumea on the island of New Caledonia. But first, a word from Autolite. Has spring arrived at your house? Then include your car in your spring cleaning routine. With warm weather just ahead, it's a good idea, if you haven't already done so, to drain the antifreeze solution from the radiator and store it for use next winter. Then flush the entire cooling system to get rid of rust and scale that has accumulated during the cold weather. Make certain the fan belt is in good condition and the fan well lubricated. Summer heat is rough on car engines, too, so change to a summer grade of oil in the crankcase. And among the other important things that will contribute to trouble-free driving this summer is a complete checkup of the electrical system from generator to battery to spark plugs. For the electrical system is the lifeline of your car. Any one of the thousands of Autolite service stations, your car dealer, or your serviceman can give your car the attention it deserves. And should worn parts need replacing, install Autolite parts, specified as factory equipment in America's finest cars. Remember, the name Autolite means precision manufacturing. Now, here is Mr. Coleman again.
Now, Ella, in a moment, we'll be getting through to Noumea in New Caledonia, way down under in the Pacific.
Do we take the high road or the low road, Ronnie?
Neither. This time, the road takes us.
Miss Coleman, the circuit to New Caledonia is through now.
Thank you. Now, put on these earphones and hold tight.
Got a date with the sailor.
No, with 2 sailors. Here we go. This is Ronald Coleman and Ella Logan calling Noumea, New Caledonia. This is Hollywood calling. Come in, Noumea.
Hi there, Hollywood. This is Van Horn speaking.
Hello, radioman first class Orville Edward Van Horn.
Hi to Orville.
Howdy, Ella. I mean, Miss Logan.
Oh, just Ella to Orville.
That's swell, but skip the Orville and call me Ben. Everybody does.
Ben it is. Chief Radioman Ralph Woodward, are you there?
Butch is right here, Mr. Coleman, but he swallowed his tongue.
Butch?
Well, that's what they call me, Mr. Coleman.
Ben and Butch. That's my boys.
Hello, Miss Logan.
Greetings, fellas. I'm chock full of messages from home for you.
That's right. Ben, we called your wife in San Diego.
Right, you did, Mr. Coleman? How's Betty?
Oh, she's feeling fine now, Ben.
Great. She was pretty ill for a while.
Well, all the news is good now. She sends her love.
Did Betty tell you about Steve?
Of course, Ben. Your son is 19 now, and he talks, too.
He does?
Ella meant 19 months.
Sure. I haven't seen him since he was 2 months old.
Well, he's in the pink.
Pink? Oh, I get it. Well, tell him his dad is in the tan.
In the tan? Oh, yeah, I imagine you have what's left over of our California sun down there.
We have plenty of sun, Mr. Coleman.
Well, Ben, we have more news. Your mother is visiting your sister Margaret in Los Angeles, and they're both well. And your nieces, Nancy and Peggy, and nephew, Tommy, are fine, and say hello to Uncle Ben.
And we've heard that your brothers, John, instructor at the V-12 Navy training program, and Charles in the Army, they're fine.
That's a swell report. It makes me feel almost at home.
Well, Ben, you've been away for a long time. Is there something we can do for you over here?
Just talking to the States is great.
Ella, what about a seafaring song for the lads, huh?
Well, this is the only seafaring song I know, brother. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. Oh, my Bonnie lies over the sea. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. Oh, bring back my Bonnie to me. Bring back, oh, bring back. Bring back my Bonnie to me, to me. Bring back, oh, bring back. Bring back my Bonnie to me. Now blow ye winds over the ocean. Oh, blow ye winds over the sea. Ooh, blow ye winds over the ocean. And bring back my Bonnie to me. Bring back my Bonnie, bring back my Bonnie. Bring back my Bonnie Bonnie to me. You gotta bring him back, oh, bring him back. Bring back my Bonnie to me. Now the wind has blown over the ocean, ooh, yes. The wind has blown over the sea. Ooh, the wind has blown over the ocean. And they brought back this turkey to me. But take him back, give him back, throw him back, toss him back. We have agreed to disagree. You can't have him back, send him back, shove him back. This is the end of my Bonnie and me.
How has that been?
Bonnie, Miss Logan, Bonnie.
Well, we haven't forgotten you, Butch Woodward. We called your mother in Hudson, New York, and are glad to report all is well. Your mother and your father, your brother Richard in the Coast Guard, William Jr. in the Navy, and John, electrician in the defense plant.
And John's son, William III, and Dick's children, Janet and Ronnie.
Yeah, and Ronnie is just fine, Butch, both of us.
That's great. Say, Mom, I got my promotion this month. I'm chief radioman now.
Oh, congratulations. She'll be proud to hear that. Butch, I understand you're a veteran, too.
Well, I've been in the Navy for 6 years.
And you've been in New Caledonia since February 1942.
Yes, sir. I'm practically a native now. I married a French girl on the island.
So you really believe in the United Nations?
That's right, and so does Monique. That's my wife.
Well, for you and Monique and the rest of you in New Caledonia, here's a little song. Cathedral bells were tolling, and our hearts sang on. Was it the spell of Paris, or the April dawn? I know that we will meet again, but until the morning chime ring sweet again, I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, and the chestnut trees, and the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer day, in everything that's bright and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the day I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
And boys, we all hope we'll be seeing you soon, too.
Yes, sir. We'll be back one of these days, and if you don't mind my saying so, I hope the things we've learned out here about one people and one world won't be forgotten.
Well, as another Scot, Bobby Burns, said, it's coming yet for all that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for all that.
For all that and all that.
Time's up.
Well, that's all for now, fellas, so it's good night.
It's good morning from us down here, and it's been a mighty good one.
Good night.
Goodbye, Mr. Furman and Miss Logan.
Good night, men.
Good draw, good neck, my boys, and God bless you all.
A Red Cross worker, Esther Richards, was on a hospital ship going into the beach at Salerno. The ship was hit by a bomb. Although Esther Richards was injured, she soon recovered and went back to her duties. A few weeks ago, she was in a receiving tent of an evacuation hospital on the Anzio beachhead below Rome. An enemy bomb struck the tent, riddling it with shrapnel. Esther Richards was killed in the line of duty. May we pay tribute, ladies and gentlemen, to this woman who so nobly represented us through our American Red Cross.
Join us next week when the Electric Autolite Company again presents Everything for the Boys, your new global half hour uniting the home front and the fighting front overseas. Your host, Mr. Ronald Coleman, will have as his guest Miss Ingrid Bergman in Arch Oboler's radio dramatization of Albert Casella's stirring Death Takes a Holiday. Following the play, Miss Bergman and Mr. Coleman will talk by two-way shortwave radio with a pair of Coast Guardsmen in Naples, Italy.
So until next week, when Ingrid Bergman is our guest, along with two of our men in the United States Coast Guard, this is Ronald Coleman saying good night to you and the boys, and God be with you.
That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler.
Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler. Rated tops in popularity for a longer period of time than any other West Coast program in radio history. And Signal gasoline is tops, too, tops in quality. It takes extra quality, you know, to give you extra mileage. And Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. So look for the Signal Circle sign in yellow and black that identifies independently operated Signal stations from Canada to Mexico. And now the Whistler's strange story. Impulse.
The crowd in the waiting room of the New York airport hardly noticed the small, slender man in a trench coat standing near the magazine counter. The few who gave him a passing glance certainly had no way of guessing what was going through his mind at the moment, for his face betrayed no sign of the struggle that raged within him. Christopher Daniels, professor of English, was striving to reach a decision, a very important decision. At this moment, Christopher Daniels had reached the crossroad. He had a choice to make. He could go on living his own dull life, or a new life, the life of another man, a man whose name was now being called over the public address.
Mr. Neil Baldwin, please report to the reservation desk immediately. Mr. Baldwin, please.
Suddenly, Christopher Daniels shuddered. It had all happened so suddenly, it seemed like a bad dream. Yes, a bad dream that had started that afternoon in his room at the hotel. Perhaps it had really started this morning at his home in New Haven. That unpleasant scene with his wife, Blanche. He'd forgotten what had brought it all on. Money, his job. It didn't matter, really. The scenes with Blanche always ended the same way.
Oh, Blanche, please. We've been all over this time and time again.
Yes, we have, Chris. And what good has it done? You never think of me, really, what I gave up to marry you.
I know.
I could have had a lot of things, Chris. But no, I had to fall in love with an unambitious English professor.
Blanche.
A professor who writes second-rate poetry on the side.
That's enough.
Is it? Every time I've suggested you give up this steamy job of yours.
Blanche, leave me alone. Please, just leave me alone.
Yes, Chris, perhaps it was then the bad dream had started. That unpleasant scene with Blanche, like so many that had gone on before. Scenes that left you empty, miserable, sitting in your study oblivious to everything except the vague wish you usually had at times like this, that things would somehow straighten themselves out. You hadn't heard the doorbell. Then you saw Blanche and your old friend Neil Baldwin standing in front of you.
Hello, Chris. Well, Neil, this is a surprise. How are you?
Fine.
Well, it's good to see you again. Sit down.
Thanks. Only for a minute, though.
Well, let's see. It's been 2 years, hasn't it?
Just about, I guess. Class reunion.
Yeah.
What in the world are you doing here in New Haven, Neil?
You sound as if this is the end of the world.
Chris doesn't seem to think so.
Oh, Blanche. Matter of fact, we've practically been neighbors the last couple of years. I've been working back and forth between here and Boston for an investment house.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's all over now. I just stopped in to say goodbye.
Goodbye? Well, here we haven't seen you in 2 years, and you're saying goodbye. Where are you going?
New York right now, then to South America.
South America? Oh, that's wonderful, Neil. Business trip?
No, Chris. Guess my business days are over. I had a talk with my doctor last month. It's either take it easy or else.
Oh.
So I'm going to take what little money I've saved, go down to South America, where I don't know a soul, and loaf the rest of my life.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your health, Neil, but this trip sounds wonderful. When are you leaving?
Plane leaves late this afternoon.
This afternoon? Neil, how are you going to New York?
Train.
I'll drive you down.
Well, that's nice of you, Chris, but I couldn't think of it.
No, really, I'd like to.
But, Chris, you'd be awfully late getting back. Look, I
could stay overnight in New York, a hotel, and come back tomorrow.
Well, I don't know. If Blanche doesn't mind...
Blanche, I just thought that... Well...
Oh, certainly, Chris. Go right ahead.
A sudden impulse, wasn't it, Chris? Perhaps you hoped that would straighten things out between you and Blanche, just getting away from her overnight. Quickly, you run upstairs to throw a few things in your bag. And later, as you're driving Neil down the coast toward New York...
Cigarette, Chris?
No, thanks.
How have things been going for you, Chris?
Oh, pretty well. Pretty well.
Look, old man, I know it's none of my business, but, anything wrong between you and Blanche?
Oh, no. Not really, I guess. Not really.
You can't very well tell Neil the truth, can you, Chris? Tell him that long ago you realized you didn't love Blanche anymore. That you haven't done anything about it because you're sure she needs you. Yes, despite her attitude, her obvious annoyance with you, you're certain she loves you, needs you. But you can't tell Neil you want to call it off because you hardly dare tell yourself. You were never one for facing anything like that, were you, Chris? You're the kind who always hopes things will straighten themselves out somehow, that it will all be arranged for you. Now you're running away overnight, hoping that will do the trick. And later, as you park your car in the garage, check in at the New York hotel, you think of something else that might help. The eating place in Greenwich Village you used to like. But Neil doesn't seem interested.
To tell you the truth, Chris, I'm worn out.
Oh. Well, that wasn't important, really.
Look, I'm not hungry anyway. Why don't you run along to your restaurant? I'll just stretch out here on your bed. Take a nap.
Well, I could do that, I suppose. You wouldn't mind?
Of course not. We have plenty of time. The plane doesn't leave for another 3 hours. I need the rest. Go on, run along, Chris. Oh, you got a cigarette on you?
Yeah.
You better leave the pack. I'm all out. I have another pack around somewhere. It must be in my briefcase. Good Lord. My briefcase.
What's the matter?
My briefcase. I thought for a moment I'd forgotten it. My tickets, papers are in it. I just remembered I left it in your car with my luggage.
Oh.
Bring it up when you come back, will you, Chris?
Yeah, of course, Neil.
You leave Neil stretched out comfortably on your bed, cigarette smoke curling from his nostrils. You go on to that quaint little restaurant in the village. But that doesn't seem to help. You sit there, hardly touching the food or the wine. Finally, you leave, drive back to the hotel, park your car, and start down the block with Neil's briefcase tucked under your arm. It isn't until you're almost to the hotel entrance that you notice the excited crowd milling about, the policemen keeping them back, the white ambulance slipping.
Out of my room. What's the matter, officer?
There's been a fire upstairs in the hotel. No one allowed on the 7th floor.
Fire? 7th floor?
Yeah, a man burned to death up there. Must have been smoking in bed. All right, now, folks. Come on, let's clear the entrance. Come on. Keep moving.
Burned to death? Officer, who was it? Huh? Who was it? The man who was...
Oh, a man named Daniels. Christopher Daniels.
It's a horrible shock, isn't it, Chris? Your friend Neil Baldwin burned to death in your hotel room. And you stand in the street with Neil's briefcase under your arm, staring emptily at the window on the 7th floor. They all think you're dead, don't they, Chris? Yes, Christopher Daniels is dead. Somewhere you find your way back to your car. You remember opening the briefcase, looking at the papers. The ticket is for Bermuda instead of South America. Bermuda, Flight 11. And there are Neil's papers, a reservation at the Crystal Beach Hotel. And there's something else, too, an envelope with money in it. A lot of money.
Mr. Neil Baldwin, please report to the reservation desk immediately. Mr. Baldwin, please.
The next thing you know, you're at the airport, standing in the waiting room by the magazine counter. You realize it isn't just a bad dream. It's real after all, isn't it, Chris? You realize, too, what brought you out here. The idea that's gnawed its way into your mind.
No, I can't do it.
Leaving for Bermuda. All aboard, please.
I must be out of my mind. I can't do a thing like this to Blanche. I can't. I won't.
Mr. Baldwin, please report to the reservation desk immediately. Mr. Baldwin, please.
Name, please?
Mrs. Polly Crane, New York. This is Flight 11, Bermuda, isn't it?
That's right, Mrs. Crane. Step up, please. Your name, sir? Your name, sir?
Baldwin. Neil Baldwin.
With the prologue of Impulse, the Signal Oil Company brings you another strange story by The Whistler. This, you know, is the 6th consecutive year that Signal Oil Company has sponsored The Whistler. A long time for a radio program, yet short compared with the 18 years that Signal has served the West. However, just as The Whistler has grown to be the most popular West Coast radio show, Signal has grown, too. Grown from a mere handful of stations serving Southern California to many hundreds of dealers serving 6 western states from Canada to Mexico. Now, obviously, there must be good reasons why so many drivers have switched to Signal gasoline. And there are. One important factor, of course, is good mileage that has made Signal famous as the Go Farther gasoline. But equally important is the thing which makes such mileage possible. I mean the extra efficiency today's Signal gasoline coaxes from your motor, which naturally means extra performance for your car. That's why Signal says, to be sure of the tops in gasoline quality, there are just 2 things to remember. 1, it takes extra quality to go farther. And 2, Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. Now back to the Whistler. It's a long way from New Haven to Bermuda, isn't it, Chris? And it's too late to turn back. You finally made your decision. For
Or was the decision to assume Neil Baldwin's identity thrust upon you? Was this the way things were straightening themselves out like you'd hoped for? And right now you don't want to turn back. No, you've managed to put your wife Blanche out of your mind with the help of Dorothy Gilbert. Yes, it was on the plane trip to Bermuda that you met her, and the two of you hit it off right from the start. You sensed instinctively that the two of you had a lot in common. You felt a pleasant glow when she smiled. Finally, there's the arrival itself, the beautiful green island of Bermuda looming up in a turquoise sea. You check in at the Crystal Beach Hotel, register as Neil Baldwin. Later, in one of the quaint horse-drawn surreys, you ride over to Belmont Manor, where Dorothy is staying. You're excited, aren't you, Chris? Like a schoolboy on his first date.
I didn't expect to see you so soon.
I couldn't wait, Dorothy. You ready?
Ready? Where are we going?
Across the island. I'm going to show you something you'll never believe. Pink sand.
Pink sand? Oh, that sounds wonderful.
It's got flecks of pink coral all through it. The whole beach just below my hotel is that way. Come on, you've got to see it.
All right, I'd love to.
Well, then come along. My carriage awaits without.
Looks like we're stalled.
What's the trouble, driver?
It's Reginald, sir.
Huh? Who's Reginald?
The horse, sir. The horse stops here.
What's the matter with Reginald?
No trouble, ma'am. He just likes to catch his breath.
Oh. Yes, Dorothy?
I'd like to stay on here a lot longer than my 3 weeks vacation. I think I'd like to stay here for a long time, Neil.
So would I, Dorothy. A long time.
It was like a faint discord, a cloud passing over the sun when she called you Neil, wasn't it, Chris? It seemed so unnatural. It made you realize you were really Chris Daniels from New Haven, an English professor with a wife named Blanche. Yes, for a moment Blanche is back in your mind, but it's only for a moment. She fades out again, and you're busy showing Dorothy Crystal Beach, the pink sand, making plans for the future. That evening, you're dancing in the Ace of Clubs.
It's a wonderful idea to come here, Neil.
You like it, really?
Love it. Why didn't you tell me you danced like this?
Well, I guess I didn't know I could.
Neil, you know that man over there near the bar?
Man? Which one?
The short and heavy-set man. Seems to be looking at us. I don't know him.
Neither do I. And he's probably not looking at us. He's looking at you, Dorothy. And I don't blame him.
You're talking mighty pretty, mister.
Oh, maybe that's because you're looking mighty pretty, miss.
Oh, Neil. Hold me tight.
There's no doubt in your mind about what's happening to you and Dorothy, is there? It's all very simple. You're certain she's in love with you, and you're in love with her. Yes, for the first time in your life, you're in love. But the cloud's over the sun again. This time it won't go away. This whole thing is unfair to Dorothy, isn't it? And you're thinking about Blanche, that it's also unfair to her. Now you've got to make another decision. You're still thinking about it as you take Dorothy back to Belmont Manor, then return to your hotel. As you walk into the lobby, the desk clerk gives you something else to think about.
Hey, Mr. Baldwin. Mr. Baldwin. Oh.
Yes? What is it?
Message for you, sir. Came while you were out.
A message?
Telephone call from New York. I took it myself.
New York?
Just from your wife, Mrs. Baldwin. Said to expect her sometime in the next few days.
You hadn't counted on anything like this, had you, Chris? Neil had never mentioned his wife to you. You had no idea he was married. Neil Baldwin is dead. You're using his name. And Mrs. Baldwin will be arriving in a few days. You're trembling as you turn away from the desk clerk, start for the stairs, and then...
Mr. Baldwin, one more thing.
Yes?
I almost forgot to tell you. There was a man here earlier in the evening asking about you.
What do you want?
But he didn't say. I thought you'd gone over to the Ace of Clubs, so
What do they look like?
Oh, what a blue suit, a rather short, heavy-set man, as I remember.
Yes, Chris, it's the short man again. The same man who was staring at you tonight when you were dancing with Dorothy at the Ace of Clubs. You're certain he's following you, aren't you? Perhaps he's from the police, and you wonder if he knows the truth about you. You hurry up to your room, and there's little sleep for you that night. The pressure is building, isn't it, Chris? First the message from Neil's wife, then the discovery that you're being followed. Yes, the pressure is mounting, and the strain on you begins to show the next evening at dinner.
Neil, what's the matter?
Matter? Well, nothing, Dorothy.
Oh, yes, there is. All evening you've been acting so strangely. You look almost... What is it, darling?
Dorothy, you'll have to trust me. Although you've no reason to, I must admit.
I do trust you, Neil. I've a good reason to. Being in love with you is a good reason.
Let's get out of here, Dorothy.
All right. Neil, there's that man again at the table near the wall. He seems...
Don't look around, Dorothy. Just keep walking.
What? Yes, Neil, of course.
If you don't mind, I think I'd better take you back to your hotel.
Neil, that man, is he what's bothering you?
He's part of it.
He's been following you, hasn't he? Are you in trouble, Neil?
Yes, Dorothy. I'm in trouble.
You take Dorothy back to the Belmont Manor and leave her with that hurt, puzzled look in her eyes. A look you'd give anything to smooth away. Then you go back to your hotel. And as you enter the lobby, the desk clerk calls to you.
Oh, Mr. Baldwin.
Yes?
There was another telephone call for you an hour ago from New York. From Mrs. Baldwin.
What did she say?
That she was able to get plane reservations. She'll arrive tomorrow morning.
You turn, run blindly out of the hotel into the night. But that's no answer, is it, Chris? You've got to make a decision, and you've got to do it soon. They're closing in on you. The short, heavy-set man and Mrs. Baldwin. Yes, and there's Dorothy and Blanche, too. You walk for hours thinking the whole thing out. And then finally you find yourself on the road leading to town and the Belmont Manor. Yes, the Belmont Manor and Dorothy. Because you've finally made your decision. You've decided to tell Dorothy everything. And you do. Your life with Blanche, your unhappiness, the madness that seized you when you discovered Neil was dead and that everyone thought it was you. How you've struggled with your conscience. And how your conscience finally won. Yes, you pour out the whole agonized story to Dorothy there on the beach. And the sun has come up before you finish.
Chris, I like the name better than Neil, darling. It suits you more.
I'm going back to Blanche, Dorothy.
Yes, I know.
She needs me. I should have known better than to think I could run out on my life.
The running was nice while it lasted.
Dorothy, I'll never forgive myself for what I've done to you.
Oh, don't say that, Chris. Things just didn't work out, that's all.
Oh, why did I have to destroy the one thing I found?
You didn't destroy me, Chris. When are you leaving?
Right away, I guess. I don't know how I stand with the law. I'll find out when I get back, I suppose. I don't think I've done anything criminal. I've just been a fool, that's all.
What about Mrs. Baldwin?
I don't know, Dorothy. When I get back to my room, I'll probably write her a letter telling her what's happened and leave Neil's money and papers with it for her. It's not exactly the brave thing to do, I suppose, but I just can't face her.
Chris, I guess you'd better be going.
Yes. Dorothy, I can't ask you to forget or forgive. Too much has happened, but I hope that time will help.
Time will help, Chris. I hope it does. You see, this is probably all wrong, but I still love you. I'll go on loving you. Someday things might be different, who knows? There's still an outside chance for us, Chris. So I'll be waiting.
Oh, Dorothy. I love you, Dorothy. always will. Goodbye, darling.
It's all over now, isn't it, Chris? And there's nothing left to do but go back to your hotel, write the note to leave for Neil's wife, and then buy your ticket back to the United States, back to New Haven and Blanche. But it's not as easy as it sounds, is it? Writing the letter to Mrs. Baldwin is not easy. There's a lot of explaining to do. You're so engrossed in the letter that you don't hear the door behind you close softly. You don't see the short, heavy-set man walk silently across the room and stand looking over your shoulder.
Hello, Cook. What are you writing, a confession?
Who are you?
Jim Mason, private detective.
What do you want?
I think you know what I want. You and I are going to have a nice long talk, brother, because right now you're looking an awful lot of trouble right in the eye.
The Whistler will return in just a moment with a strange ending to tonight's story. Meantime, a message especially for you drivers who have late model cars, or you lucky folks who will be getting new ones. Just any motor oil won't do, you know, for today's high-efficiency motors. No, sir. They need special protection against corrosion, wear, and carbon if you expect to get the long, trouble-free service that was built into them. That's why Signal Oil Company brought out Signal Premium Compounded Motor Oil, an improved type lubricant in which 100% pure paraffin base is fortified with scientific new compounds. Inside your motor, these compounds go to work, doing jobs that regular oil alone cannot do. One compound, for instance, actually washes out harmful carbon, gum, and varnish. Another compound in Signal Premium protects costly bearings against corrosion. And still other compounds do additional jobs of keeping wear down and performance up. That's why Signal Premium Compounded Motor Oil is your guarantee of a sweeter running motor. So for your next oil change, stop at a Signal station. Get the improved type oil that does so much more than just lubricate. Signal Premium Compounded Motor Oil. And now back to the Whistler.
Well, Chris, they finally caught up with you. Your little adventure is at an end. Your first decision to use Neil's name, run away from home, was a bad one, wasn't it? And your second decision to go back. It looks like you made that one a little too late. Because now no one will ever believe you really were going back. There's only one thing to do, one thing you know how to do. And that's to tell Mason the whole story, just as you told it to Dorothy. And that's what you do. You give Mason the whole story.
Sort of a wild tale, ain't it?
Oh, I know it must sound...
You can prove you're not Neil Baldwin?
Well, yes, of course I can.
Well, then you're a lucky guy.
Lucky?
Yeah, that dough he had, the $12,000 he told you he'd saved up to retire on.
Yeah?
Well, he embezzled it from the company he worked for.
What?
They sent me down here after him. You still have the dough?
Yes, it's over there in the briefcase. I haven't touched it.
Good. Getting that dough back is all the company's interested in. And as far as I'm concerned, you can go on your way.
Thanks.
What are you going to do? Go back?
Yeah, Blanche needs me. It's the only decent thing I can do.
You know, you're not quite out of the woods yet. I'm still not convinced you aren't Neil Baldwin. All right, Mrs. Baldwin, come on in.
Neil, darling, why didn't you meet me at the airport? Chris.
Good Lord. Blanche.
I thought you were...
You thought I was... What, Blanche?
I thought you...
You thought I died in that hotel fire instead of Neil. You thought he'd be here waiting for you with the money he stole. You had it all planned, didn't you? You knew he stole it, didn't you, Blanche?
Yes.
And all the time I've been torturing myself, thinking about what I'd done to you.
Chris,
You know, I'm glad you came down here to meet Neil. It's kept me from making an awful mistake.
Mistake?
That's right. An awful mistake. But it doesn't concern you anymore, Blanche. Just me. And someone who's waiting for me over at the Belmont Manor.
That whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Brought to you by the Signal Oil Company, marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil and fine quality automotive accessories. Signal has asked me to remind you to get the most driving pleasure, drive at sensible speeds, be courteous, and obey traffic regulations. It may save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were John Beale, Betty Lou Gerson, and Mary Lansing. The Whistler was produced by George W. Allen and directed by Gordon T. Hughes, with story by Bob Wright and music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. At the same time next Sunday, another strange tale by The Whistler. Marvin Miller speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Lieutenant Devers of Homicide, 6 p.m. Check. What are my instructions?
You will shoot to kill.
Presenting The Whisperer, starring Carlton Young. The Whisperer, a brilliant man who, losing his voice in an accident which crushed his vocal cords, worked his way deep within the crime syndicate to help destroy it from within. To the underworld, his familiar rattling hiss is the voice of authority, to be obeyed without question. Then a miracle of surgery performed by Dr. Benjamin Lee restored his natural voice, enabling him to resume his real identity. Now, as Philip Galt, aggressive young attorney, he skirts the thin edge of death, living his dual role. For as the Whisperer, he sets in motion the forces of the syndicate in Central City. Then, as Philip Galt, uses his knowledge to fight the organized network of crime which seeks to control the fate of millions in cities and towns across the nation. Now, in the apartment of Ellen Norris, the only one besides Dr. Lee, her employer, who knows that the Whisperer is really Philip Galt, brilliant young Central City attorney, we find Philip speaking in the voice of the Whisperer to his superiors on the syndicate in New York.
Hello, New York. Instructions for liquidation of Lieutenant Charles Denvers, given to Neely. Will report progress.
Not Lieutenant Denver.
That's right, Ellen. Denver's been a thorn in the syndicate side for a long time here in Central City.
Thanks to the information you've managed to get to Denver. Oh, he's such a nice guy, Phil. Couldn't you have ignored the syndicate and forgotten to pass on their instructions to the killer just this once?
Too much of a chance, Ellen. Playing both ends against the middle the way I am with the syndicate all the time, I'm lucky they haven't got suspicious of me already.
And if they only suspected you weren't completely on their side. Phil, why don't you just call Denvers and warn him? Tell him to be on his guard, that the syndicate
is... And then, when he asked me how I happened to know...
Oh, I didn't think of that. But you're not going to just sit by and allow him to be murdered, Phil.
May I use your phone again, darling?
If it's for the syndicate, no.
If it's against the syndicate?
In that case, dial away.
Thank you.
Could I, without being nosy, ask who you're calling?
Lieutenant Denvers.
But you said...
I said I couldn't warn him, but I've got to do something. I can ask him to... Shh, hold it.
Denver speaking, homicide.
Good evening, Lieutenant. This is Phil Galt. How are you?
Suspicious. What's on your mind?
Dinner, Lieutenant. I'd like to invite you and your charming wife out for dinner this evening.
On you?
On me.
Did I hear right?
Of course. Can't I ask you to dinner without raising your suspicions, Lieutenant?
No.
You're antisocial, Lieutenant.
Not an invitation out of the blue like this. Not after years of getting in my hair on cases and spending your time fighting my evidence in court.
Well, that's something else again. That's business. As a man, as a friend, I like you, Lieutenant. There isn't an ulterior motive within miles of me right now. I just want to... Honest, Lieutenant. How about it?
Well, even if I believed you, Gold, I couldn't. The wife and I are eating out tonight, all right. We're taking some friends to dinner.
Oh, too bad.
Well, maybe I'll take a rain check.
Okay. Goodbye, Lieutenant.
He won't come?
Candy has a date.
What was the idea of inviting him, anyway?
Well, I figured as long as I was with him, I could keep an eye peeled for this Neely, the syndicate's hired killer I just spoke to. I guess now that's no good. Now, hey, wait a minute. I know what I'll do.
Uh-oh. 5 will get you 10. It's going to end up by having us miss dinner altogether.
Quite the contrary. I'm going to do just what the killer's going to do.
Kill Denvers?
All the killer knows is that Denvers will be coming out of headquarters around 6 o'clock.
About 20 minutes from now.
He'll probably be parked near headquarters waiting for Denvers. But I don't think he'll risk shooting him there. He'll follow and wait for a better opportunity.
I don't suppose, as usual, you know what this Neely, this killer, really looks like.
No, I don't, Ellen. He's another one of these syndicate men imported to do their dirty work, and chances are he's not working alone. But with luck, we ought to be able to spot him before he gets a chance to shoot Denver.
Well, you hope.
We hope. Come on, put your face on so we can get going. I want to be parked near police headquarters when Denvers comes out.
As I said about dinner...
Now, don't be silly. A little delay will just sharpen your appetite. Notice anything new and different?
In the car here? It's got to be a new gadget of some kind. No. I see you've still got the wire recorder installed behind the dash. You didn't take it out as you threatened.
Well, I decided it might come in handy sometime again. Keep looking.
I don't... What's that? Connected to the steering pole near the dash. Well, that can't be a telephone, can it?
You win the gold-plated shoehorn. Care to try for the Cadillac?
A telephone in a car? What good is it?
Oddly enough, for making telephone calls.
Well, that's impossible. I never...
There's old Hat, Ella. You're way behind in your popular mechanics.
I guess I am.
Done by radio.
Well, why go to all the trouble to develop such a thing? Can't people drive to the nearest phone booth or something if they have to make a call?
It's not only for making calls, Ellen. Doctors driving their rounds to be contacted in an emergency. Companies with fleets of cars or trucks can contact them on the road during the day or night.
I see. And also as a toy for gadget-happy characters like you.
Oh, that's unkind. I'll bet I get a lot of use out of it.
Mm-hmm. Like calling the telephone company to check the time of day.
Very funny. You just wait. Uh-oh, there's the police headquarters down the block. Several cars parked across the street from it. We better stop here.
There's a man sitting in one of them.
Just one? Usually they work in pairs. I only know about Neely, but then the syndicate doesn't tell anybody everything, not even me.
What do we do now? Go up and ask him if he's waiting to shoot Lieutenant Denver?
We're anxious for a bullet ourselves. Otherwise, we wait and see what happens. Look, there's Denver's car parked right in the front of headquarters.
I wonder what restaurant the lieutenant's going to.
I just hope he gets there in one piece. How can you think of food when a man's life is in danger?
Oh, it isn't me. I'm very altruistic. Always thinking of the other fellow. But my stomach has a mind of its own.
Look, here comes Denver's now, out of headquarters.
Suppose you're wrong, Phil. Supposing that he shoots now, from his car.
It's a gamble. We gotta hope he doesn't.
It's almost to his car now. The man in the other car hasn't moved.
That fellow isn't Neely. Maybe Neely's hidden somewhere else, just waiting to shoot.
There. Denver's in his car. Nothing's happened.
Yet.
He's driving off. Whew. That was a bad moment.
It isn't over. There goes the other car, making a U-turn and following Denver's car.
Isn't that illegal? In the middle of the block?
No, that's a woman for you, worrying about irrelevancies at a time like this. The important thing is that the car following Denver's is almost certainly being driven by Neely with a gun cocked and ready.
What do we do now?
Follow both of them. It isn't a cinch trying to head off a syndicate man intent on killing.
I've lost Lieutenant Denver's car, Phil.
Probably a couple of blocks ahead of us now. I'm having no trouble keeping the green sedan Neely's driving in sight.
You didn't get a very good look at Neely back there, did you?
No. He had that hat pulled down. Hey, he's turning off.
Going into that parking lot of the Chateau Frank.
Denver's must be meeting his wife and guests in there.
A restaurant. And famous for their sour broth and potato pancakes. Yum. Do we get to follow them in?
I think it can be arranged.
Oh, this isn't going to be such a bad evening after all. Here comes the head waiter, Phil. I hope he has a table. I'm famished.
Healthiest appetite in Central City.
Do so?
Oh, yes, please.
Right this way.
Oh, would you mind? I'd rather sit on the other side.
Oh, of course, if you prefer, monsieur.
What difference where we sit, Phil?
He was taking us to a table 6 feet from Denver's party.
For what? Are we allowed to eat dinner here?
After my inviting him out tonight? Policemen have suspicious minds about coincidences.
How is this table served?
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Would you care to order now, sir?
I would. I'll have the sauerbraten.
Yes, miss. You, sir?
Sauerbraten will be all right for me, too.
Fine. Drink first.
Helen?
If I sharpen my appetite any more, I'll eat the tablecloth.
Nothing for me either.
Yes, sir.
Pardon me a second, Helen.
Don't tell me. A telephone call.
Uh-huh.
As the whisperer, no doubt.
Not so loud. Be right back.
Central City reporting. Neely on job. Trail Denver's to restaurant. Awaiting opportunity to complete assignment. We'll report again later.
Back already?
My other life doesn't take up much of my time.
See anyone that looks like he might be Neely?
Oh, that dark man. No, I don't think so.
Oh, must have come in here. We saw his car drive into the parking lot.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Head waiter's been speaking to Denver's. Denver's headed this way.
What for? I don't get it.
I don't think he has anything to do with us. I don't think he's even seen us yet.
Maybe if we put the menus up in front of our faces.
No good, Ellen. He spotted us.
Well, Philip, dog. You're sure a persistent guy, aren't you? Hello, Miss Norris.
Hi, Lieutenant.
Denver's. Quite a coincidence, huh? Well, what do you mean, persistent?
Well, if you invite a fellow out to dinner and he refuses, you just follow him and force him to eat in the same restaurant with you.
Suspicious nature is an occupational disease with the police.
Yeah? Well, then why did you steer the head waiter away from our side of the restaurant and have him seat you over here?
Oh. You saw that, did you?
Uh-huh.
Well, I didn't want to crowd you, Lieutenant. Didn't want you to think that I was following you.
Why, are you?
Of course not. But now that you're here, why don't you sit down and have a...
No, I can't right now. There's a phone call waiting for me.
Well, maybe later then, huh?
Well,
he is a suspicious policeman.
Phone call for him, huh? You know, Ellen, maybe he's not suspicious enough.
Where are you going?
Make sure that's a genuine phone call. You haven't forgotten one of the syndicate's killers is waiting for a chance to get his sights on the lieutenant, have you?
No, but why leave me here?
Now, your food will be along in a minute. You just sit tight.
Oh, no. You're liable to disappear, and I can't eat 2 orders of sauerbraten.
Oh, no? Come along, then. It's probably nothing to worry about anyway. Phone booths are over this way. On the way out to the parking lot.
Nobody around, Phil. And both phone booths are empty.
What happened to freight up?
Phil, wait.
There goes Denver's car. Come on.
Come on where?
To our car.
Oh, so we can follow and make sure he's not walking into a trap?
He's not walking into a trap. He's already in it. There was a man sitting next to Denver's, a man with his hat pulled low over his eyes.
You think he had Denver's called up by the head waiter on a fake telephone call and was waiting for him at the telephone booth?
I'm sure of it, Ellen. As the car went by me, I got a quick look inside. Neely had a gun, and if I know anything about a syndicate trigger man, Neely knows how to use it.
Where's Denver's car?
I don't know. Now, keep your eyes peeled. I don't even know what we can do if we do spot it. But I do know Lieutenant Denver's will be dead in a matter of minutes if we don't.
You are listening to The Whisperer, the story of Philip Galt, who skirts the thin edges of danger, living his dual role. Philip Galt, known to the syndicate of crime only as the Whisperer, has set in motion the syndicate's plan to kill Lieutenant Charles Denvers of Central City. But now, in his real identity as Philip Galt, counselor at law, he is trying desperately to stop Neely, the syndicate's hired killer, from carrying out the skillfully planned murder. The killer has forced Denvers into his own car at gunpoint, and now Phil and Ellen follow in Phil's car, desperately trying to pick up the trail so they may prevent the lieutenant's murder.
How do we know they went this way?
We don't, but it's logical to suppose Neely's forcing Denvers to drive to the outskirts of town so he can kill him in private.
And this is the quickest way out of town.
Right.
And if we're wrong, oh, Phil, if only you hadn't passed the syndicate's orders on to this Neely character.
Then someone else would have.
Yes, I know. And they wouldn't have tried to stop the murder from happening like we are. But if we don't find Denver's car...
I'll never forgive myself.
Phil.
What is it?
Straight ahead at that corner. Isn't that...
It looks like Denver's car, all right. Hang on, sweetheart. We're
the
going
light's changing, Phil.
Then we'll just have to... Oh, we can't. Too many cars stopped ahead of us. We'll have to wait.
Oh, Phil.
We'll catch up, I hope.
If only there was some way to get the police to... Phil.
What?
Your telephone. You can call the police.
Why didn't I think of that?
Because you're too busy berating yourself for getting Lieutenant Denvers in this predicament in the first place.
Light's changing, Ellen. I got to concentrate on my driving. You better call.
What do I do?
Just pick up the phone and ask the operator for police headquarters. Press down the button to talk, release it to listen. Now give the operator that number on the windshield.
Operator, this is JL22469. Police headquarters, please. And hurry. Well, I tell them.
Exactly what's happening and where we are.
Hello? This is Miss Ellen Norris, calling from an automobile driving north on State Boulevard. Lieutenant Denver's life is in danger. Yes, a car. We're following Lieutenant Denver's car.
Tell him to get off the dime.
He's being forced to drive out of town by a man with a gun. Oh, he won't shut up.
Press the button. Cut him off.
Oh. Now, you listen to me. We're in a gray two-door sedan. License number 4A3216. You know Lieutenant Denver's car, don't you?
Tell him we're just crossing Cedar Street now. Still traveling north.
We're still on State Boulevard traveling north. And we've just crossed Cedar Street. Yes, please, hurry. I'm putting out the message to all squad cars in this area. We ought to have help in no time.
Not too many cars in this part of town. It's only partly built up.
Oh, still, we're practically out of the city already. What do we do if the police don't get here in time?
I don't know, Ellen.
Darn this syndicate with its killings all the time. Not getting mixed up in it. No more street lights. And with the only two cars on the road as far as I can see.
I just hope Neely doesn't see. He'll know we're following. And with that gun, he could make life difficult for us.
Anyway, we won't lose them out here.
If they're turning off on a side road, chances are he'll spot us for sure now.
Maybe he won't shoot Denver when he finds out we're following. Careful, Phil! Oh. He came awful close to the edge of that canyon.
He'll probably make Denver stop and walk off the road a ways before he shoots him. If we try to interfere, he'll just use 2 more bullets.
Phil, they're speeding up.
They must have spotted us. He can't know we're following on purpose yet. Probably just wants to lose us. Ellen, get on that phone again. Squad cars won't know where we turned off. They'll keep going north on the main highway and miss us completely.
Hello, operator? Operator!
That car of Denver's is souped up to go a lot faster than mine. I better try to head him off while I still got a chance.
Darn that, operator. Hello? Operator! Operator! How can you stop them, Phil?
Force them off the road, maybe. It's a chance, but if they get away from us now...
Operator!
They only have one operator on the car service now. Sometimes they get tied up on long distance.
Oh, fine. Operator!
No use shouting into the phone, Ellen. She won't cut your line in until she's free.
What do I do? Just sit and wait while Denver's car gets lost?
Nothing else you can do. And I don't think they're going to lose us. Neely doesn't know Denver's car is souped up, and there's no reason Denver should drive to his own murder any faster than necessary.
We are gaining on them, Phil.
Better get down, Ellen. Down underneath the dashboard on your side there.
Why?
It's safer. Try to relax so it won't jar you too much when we hit.
Hit what?
Denver's car. I'm going to force them off the road. Now get down.
Okay. Now what?
Just relax.
Relax, he said.
We're just about next to him now. Neely hasn't got any idea what's coming. Thinks we're trying to pass him. Hang on, sweetheart. Now relax. Are you all right, darling?
I guess so. My dignity's kind of bruised. Can I get up now?
You better stay where you are. Denver's car took a worse jostling than this one, but Neely may still be in a shooting condition. I'm going out to see what happened.
Be careful, Phil.
Hold it. Stay where you are. Don't make a move.
Denver's. Is that you?
Oh, go. I thought so.
Oh. Hey, what happened to the other fella?
Got banged around a bit when you ran into us. He's still asleep.
Oh. Pretty tight squeeze, huh?
It would have been a lot tighter if you hadn't come along for the ride. Guess I ought to thank you, huh? You probably saved my life.
Don't make too much of an effort. How did you know it was me following you?
I got a look at you as I drove out of the restaurant parking lot with Neely's gun in my ribs. From the look on your face, I figured you knew what was happening.
Where's his gun now?
This is it. If he happens to come to suddenly, he won't be so dangerous with his fangs removed.
Phil, I'm getting awfully cramped
Huh? Oh, sorry, sweetheart. Come on out.
You would have gone on chatting with Lieutenant Denvers all night if I hadn't opened my mouth.
Well, I guess my car'll still drive. I'll take that hood back to headquarters.
Right. We'll follow.
Here comes the car. Maybe the police.
Down behind the car. They're shooting at us.
What now? That car's pulling off the road.
As soon as he gets out of that car, he's going to get a blast. I'll ask questions later.
You won't be able to hit us as long as we stay down.
He got out of his car on the far side. Probably going to try to come around the end of his car and nail us. I'd better teach him some manners.
Better keep him on his side of the road. Better keep down, Denvers. He's pretty impatient for a target.
Yeah, this looks like a standoff. Somebody hears those shots and calls headquarters. What in blazes is that?
My telephone.
Your what? Out here in the middle of nowhere? Is he going off his trolley, Ellen?
He has a telephone in his car, Lieutenant.
Oh. Where you going, Galt?
Trying to crawl back to my car and answer the phone. Maybe the police trying to get to us. Find out where we are.
Wait a second. There's 10 feet of open space between our cars. You'll be a perfect target for that guy across the road.
Still, you
I
can't.
gotta chance it. I'll make like a snake crawl on my belly. Cover me with your gun, Lieutenant.
All right, but be careful.
Can you see the man across the road? Can you tell if he can see Phil?
No, he's hidden behind his car. But if he sticks his nose out to get a shot at Phil... There. There. Stuck his nose out and I missed him. Well, I got him behind his car anyway.
Well, Phil got to his car safely. Oh, he's answered the phone. Lieutenant, look out!
You! Oh. Thanks, Ellen.
Nearly. He was about to smash that rock on your head.
Yeah, well, Neely won't be trying to smash any more people's skulls in.
Dead?
Yeah. Well, I shot good once this evening anyway.
The other one's driving off, Lieutenant.
Come on, in your car, Lieutenant, after him.
He's got quite a head start.
Oh, we'll catch him in this. We'll do 110.
What was that phone call, Phil?
Police calling back. Their squad cars couldn't find us. I told them to set up a roadblock at the intersection of this road with the main highway, just in case.
You think they had time?
Don't know soon enough. The rate we're going, we ought to...
Yes, straight ahead of them. 2 squad cars across the road with their headlights blazing.
He won't be able to stop in time, Phil. He'll...
Turning off the road.
Lieutenant.
He went over.
That's a 300-foot drop.
You think he...
Houdini couldn't live through that.
We better get down there. Have a look.
No. I'll have some of the boys take care of it. I'll drive you back to your car and get back to the restaurant. My wife will be wondering what happened to me.
Well, let's all get back. Our food's still waiting. Not that I have any appetite left after what happened tonight. Very thoughtful of that head waiter, keeping our orders on the stove.
No appetite, she says.
Yeah, a real persistent guy, Galt. You got me to have dinner with you after all.
Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry your wife didn't wait for us.
Nah, she's used to me running out on one sort of urgent business or another.
I hope it isn't always as urgent as this was.
Lieutenant, what about that man who crashed at the bottom of the canyon in his car? Any identification on him?
No, the car was rented. U-Drive place never saw him before. We sent his fingerprints on to Washington. Yeah, probably another one of the syndicate's hired killers from out of town.
Syndicate? You think they were behind this attempt to kill you?
Well, it's a logical thought. I've been getting in their hair lately.
Yes, it does sound logical.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you wouldn't know anything about it.
Me? How would I?
Well, what was it you wanted to see me about, Doc?
Well, nothing. I told you, just a friendly dinner together.
I see. Well, after tonight, I guess I ought to leave it your way, huh?
Thanks. Pardon me, I'll be right back.
Where now?
Just got to make a telephone call.
Look out for guys with guns waiting for you.
I will, Lieutenant. And while I'm gone, keep an eye on my potato pancakes. That girl sitting next to you knows no loyalties when it comes to food.
Hello, New York. Murder of Lieutenant Denvers failed. Both our men killed. Entire police force alerted for Denver's safety. I will check for further instructions with Chicago at midnight.
The Whisperer is based upon stories and characters created by Stetson Humphrey. Any similarity to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Carlton Young is starred as the Whisperer. Betty Moran is Ellen. Others in the cast were Paul Frees and Paul DeBove. Don Rickles speaking. The Whisperer was written by Jonathan Twice, produced and directed by Bill Karn, original music by Johnny Duffy. Next week, listen to another exciting adventure with
The Whisperer.
As a result of the disastrous floods in Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Illinois, the President of the United States has asked the American people to contribute $5 million through their local chapters of the American Red Cross for the relief of flood victims. Over 45,000 families have been affected by the floods, and an estimated 12,000 of these will register with the Red Cross for assistance. Emergency needs are overwhelming, but immediate aid to the victims, food, shelter, clothing, and medical care is only a part in caring for those whose lives have been disrupted by the disaster. Give and give generously. This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
Broadcasting System presents The Mysterious Traveler. Written, produced, and directed by Robert A. Arthur and David Cogan. And starring tonight two of radio's foremost personalities, Chester Stratton and Joan Tompkins, in The Lady in Red.
This is The Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope that you enjoy the trip, that it thrills you a little and chills you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable, if you can, as we join prime reporter Bill Storm on the strangest manhunt ever conducted. And now here's the story, just as Bill Storm wrote it down, when he began to be afraid that maybe he was going to succeed and find the strange and dangerous woman he knew only as the Lady in Red.
My name is Bill Storm. I'm a newspaper reporter. And I'm writing this because I have a date tonight. Big, dark eyes and the softest voice in the world. Sounds nice, doesn't she? Well, I'd like to believe she's nice, but I can't. In my heart, I know she's the most dangerous woman in the world. And up to a week ago, I'd never even heard of her. A week ago, the day of Rusty Dean's funeral. You know, the big shot. Gambling, slot machines, killed by a solitary gunman while stepping out of his nightclub. They didn't catch the killer, but he gave Rusty the biggest funeral since Prohibition. I was on the rewrite desk that afternoon. My best friend, Tom Jarvis, was covering the funeral. Well, along about 4, he phoned in. First, he gave me all the dope on the funeral, and then he started telling me about some brunette he just met. He was always a sucker for brunettes.
Bill, she's a knockout. Big black eyes and the smoothest, softest voice in the world. I want you to meet her.
No, blondes are more my style, Tom. Anyway, you're supposed to be working. Or have you forgotten?
I am working. Listen, Bill, I got a front-page story here. Theda led me to it.
Who did?
Theda, that's her. Theda. Theda. Like Theda Barra, the old silent picture star. Now, this is how it happened. I was watching the crowd at Rusty's funeral when I spotted a trim little number in red whispering to Joe Nelson.
Who's Nelson?
Well, Joe Nelson, the small-time thug. Well, anyway, she moved off, and I thought she might be a relative of the deceased, so I asked Joe about her. But he claimed he'd never seen her before, and that all she said to him was, 4 o'clock at the Banner Bar and Grill.
4 o'clock at the Banner Bar and Grill? That sounds like a message.
Well, that's what Joe figured. Only he decided she delivered it to the wrong guy. Well, I sort of wanted to see her again, so I persuaded Nelson he needed a drink. We slipped around the corner here to the Banner Bar and Grill, and sure enough, she was here waiting for us.
Now, Tom, watch yourself.
Bill, you've got the wrong idea. She's a perfect lady.
Yeah. Now, what about that big story you claimed you had?
Oh, well, I'm coming to that. But honest, Bill, I want you to meet Theda. You'll go for her. Now, look, I'm going to put her on the phone to say hello. Here she is. Theda?
Hello, Bill Storm.
Hello, Theda. Is that your real name?
Yes. Don't you like it, Bill?
Sure I like it. What's the rest of it?
There isn't any rest of it, Bill. Just Theda.
Nobody is just one name. Not these days.
I have, Bill. But here's Tom again.
Listen, Bill, I'm going to fix up a date with him for you. But here's the story I promised you. Joe Nelson has been getting quietly plastered. And from what he's let slip, I'm positive he's the gunman who killed Rusty Dean.
He is. Then hang on to it.
Well, I am. Now, you get a car and come down here. We'll smuggle him up to the office and work on him. Maybe we can get the whole story out of him.
I'll be there in 15 minutes. Keep buying him drinks till I get there. What's the address?
It's on the corner of 5th and Spruce. Hey, Bill, 2 men just came in the door and they got Tommy guns. They're after Joe Nelson.
Tom, what happened?
They just mowed him down. And Theda's gone. She slipped away when they came in. Hey, Bill, they're coming over toward this phone booth. They're going to shoot.
Tom!
Bill, find that girl. She knows who they are. She's working with them.
I was there in 5 minutes, even before the police got there. The place was deserted, except for the 2 dead men. Joe Nelson, the gunman, and Tom. Tom, my best friend, led to his death by a girl in a red dress. Well, the police didn't find the gunman who did the shooting, so I set out to find the girl, track them down through her. Once I found her, she was going to talk plenty. I began the hunt by calling on the man who had been Rusty Dean's chief lieutenant and was running his enterprises now, Nick Murray.
Sit down, Stone. Said you wanted to talk to me? What about?
Murray, did your boys kill Joe Nelson this afternoon?
My boys? No, Bill, they didn't. Why should they?
Maybe because it was Nelson who bumped off Rusty Dean.
He did? How do you know that?
You mean you didn't know it?
If I'd have known it, Nelson would have been dead long before this.
I figured that. That's what made me think you were in the clear.
You haven't told me how you know Nelson killed Rusty.
Well, he had a few drinks this afternoon and let it slip out to Tom Jarvis. Just before those 2 hoodlums riddled them both. A brunette named Theda put Nelson and Tom on the spot for them.
Brunette named Theda? Never heard of her.
Huh? I hoped you might have. Trim figure, deep dark eyes, low soft voice. Looks like a lady.
Some lady if she works with a bump-off gang. No, I never heard of her. But if she's working with any local mob, I'll hear about it. If any of the boys run across her, I'll let you know.
Thanks, Murray. But warn them, if they do meet her, watch out. She's pure dynamite. Well, that was one lead that got me no place. So next I dropped in on Captain Hughes, the head of homicide, to ask if the police had gotten any fingerprints off the glass that the girl had been drinking from.
Sorry, Bill. No dice.
You mean you didn't get anything from the girl's glass?
Not a thing. You see, she hadn't touched it. None of the liquor was gone.
Well, now that proves she wasn't on the level.
Well, not necessarily. But I've issued orders to have her picked up if she's found. We tried to get a description from Gomez, the waiter who served them, but...
What one?
He says he didn't get a good look at her. When she slipped away, he didn't even see her go.
Some eyes he must have. I suppose he didn't even see the shooting.
Not much of it. He dived down the cellar steps when it started. He's in the Civic Hospital now.
I'm going out there to talk to him. He must have noticed something. It wasn't much of a lead, but it was all I had. It was pretty late by now. And when I got there, the hospital had settled down for the night. They put Gomez in a ward. Outside the ward, I found a nurse out on duty. A blonde kid who turned as I came up.
Oh, good evening. You looking for someone?
Yes, my name is Storm. I'm looking for a patient named Gomez.
Gomez? Oh, yes. Broken arm and internal injuries.
How is he? Is he awake?
Yes. Feeling badly. Complains of pains in his chest.
If he's awake, I want to talk to him. This is police business. What bed's he in?
Well, the last one down by the far door, but I'll have to ask the doctor if you can see him. Wait here, please.
She disappeared down the hall, but I didn't wait. The ward was dark except for a couple of dim lights. I started for the far end, and then I saw her. She was just a figure in a red dress bending over the last bed, but it was Theda, all right. It had to be. I tiptoed down the room. She was talking to Gomez. He was moaning a little.
It hurts, doesn't it, Gomez? Yes, of course it does, but it'll go away soon.
He mumbled something, and then he reached for a glass on the table beside his bed.
A drink of water? Of course. Let me help you.
She helped him lift the glass to his lips. And then I knew what she was up to, and I yelled, Gomez! Stop that glass! Don't drink out of it! He dropped it all right, but it was too late. He'd already drunk from it. He turned to stare at me, his mouth open, and she moved toward the door right beside her. I ran after her, but I was too late. When I reached it, she was gone. Swallowed up in a dark hole. I knew it wasn't any use hunting for her, and I turned to Gomez. In my impatience, I grabbed his shoulder. Gomez, who was she? What did she want?
Mr. Storm, you're not supposed to be in here. What are you doing to my patient?
I'm going to make a mess.
You leave him alone. He's not going to answer any questions for you tonight.
Am I saying yes?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Storm. He's dead.
Yes, he was dead, all right. The only possible witness who could lead me to her, and she eliminated him. And then I knew whoever she was and whatever her game was, trying to find her was going to be about as safe as moving into a den of rattlesnakes. I put in a bad night, trying to figure it all out. And the next morning, when I got down to the paper, my eyes looking like two holes burned in a blotter, I hunted up my editor, Henry Holloway, in the city room.
Yeah, look at Frankenstein. What happened to you, Bill?
Oh, I'm all right, Henry. Listen, anything new come in about those thugs who killed Tom?
Not a thing. The paper's needling the police, but, well, so far, no results.
And there won't be either till we find that girl in red. She's the key to the whole thing, I know it.
Aren't you getting a little hipped up about that girl in red? After all, she may be perfectly innocent.
Oh, yeah? And how do you explain her killing Gomez last night just before I could question her?
Bill, are you sure that you didn't imagine you saw her at the hospital? After all, nobody else did, not even the nurse.
Imagine it. I heard her talking to him. In a soft, honey voice, as if she was bringing him flowers instead of poison.
Well, that's another thing. The hospital autopsied Gomez and found no trace of poison. They claim it was internal hemorrhage and shock that killed him.
Sure, the shock of a nice, healthy slug of poison in his glass of water. But suppose they didn't find anything. They weren't looking for it, that's all. And I saw her kill him.
Okay, you saw her. Now what?
I want to be relieved of all assignments until I find her, that's what. She's in this city, and I'll run her down inside of a week, or I'll quit calling myself a reporter. A week, I said. It didn't take any week to find her. Not that girl. She got around too much. I saw her again just 1 hour later. It happened like this. I went back to my apartment, dropped into a chair beside my window, and I started to figure my next move. The window looks out on another building across an air shaft, not 10 feet away. Well, I'd been sitting there about half an hour when out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone in the room directly across from me come to the window and stand there looking over at me. It was a girl in a red dress, wearing a cute little hat with a veil down over her eyes. As soon as I saw her, I knew it was Theta. Oh, don't ask me how I knew. I just did. Standing there with a 10-foot air shaft separating us. Well, I did what I could. I turned so that she couldn't see what I was doing, and I got Captain Hughes on the phone. He said he had the building surrounded if I could only keep her talking for about 5 minutes. Well, I hung up the phone and I turned back toward the window, trying to act casual. Hello, Theta. You looking for me?
Hello, Bill. No, it's just accidental that I'm here. But you're looking for me, aren't you?
Her voice did something to me. I can't explain it. A minute ago, I had hated her. And now I knew why Tom had gone overboard about her. I said something, anything, to keep her talking. Well, yeah, I've been looking for you. You're a hard girl to find.
I have to be, Bill.
But why, Theta? Look, you're just a kid. What kind of racket are you mixed up in, anyway?
I'm sorry, Bill. I can't answer that.
Oh, but listen, you could be anything you wanted. You don't have to be mixed up with murder.
Then you think I'm a murderer?
Now, what else can I think? Last night you killed that poor devil at the hospital. I saw you.
Yes, I know. You wouldn't believe me if I told you you're wrong, would you?
I'd like to, but I can't, Rita. I can't.
I'm sorry, Bill. Someday you'll know the truth. Now I have to go.
Oh, no, wait. Let me look at you. I think we met someplace before.
Yes?
Yeah. It was in Chicago. But I can't remember where.
Please don't try to, Bill. And don't try to find me anymore. Goodbye.
No, wait. But she was gone. And then somebody else appeared at the window. A window washer. He started to climb out on the sill to fasten his belt to the safety hooks. And I yelled at him, hey, you, that girl was there. Stop her.
You mean the little number in dress dress?
Yeah, where'd she go?
Well, she went out just as I come in.
Go after her. Grab her. She's wanted by the police.
Oh, listen, mister, I'm here to wash windows, not to chase dames. The police want to let them catch her. Now, quit bothering me. I got a job to do.
Look out, your safety hooks are bending.
What?
Oh, right in front of my eyes, he fell 15 floors. I saw the safety hooks break as he leaned his weight against them, and then I knew why she'd been there. She'd been there to weaken those hooks, to make sure that poor devil fell and killed himself.
Well, Storm, we didn't get her. She slipped through our fingers somehow.
She was there, Captain. I saw her. I talked to her.
Yeah, she was there, all right. We found a woman's handkerchief in the room. Initial J on it. Heavy perfume. Here it is.
Lilac. Drenched in lilac. But the initials are J. She said her name was Thea.
She was kidding you. But she did the job, all right. Those safety hooks had been filed away to nothing. One of the local mobs is trying to get control of the window washers union. That's why he was killed. Intimidation. Sweet little lady, that one. But, Storm, the elevator boy who took her up, says she was a blonde, not a brunette.
Oh, he's crazy. Her hair is as black and soft as midnight.
You're getting poetic, aren't you? I wonder if you're still as anxious to find that girl as you were.
Oh, Of course I am. And when I find her, she'll get what's coming to her. That's what I said. I didn't know for sure whether I meant it or not. I just knew I had to find her again. For 4 days, I combed the town for that girl. And then 2 nights ago, as I was walking home just about midnight, I ran into Dutton, a cop I knew, looking down the dark street and scratching his head. Hello, Dutton. What's the matter? You see a ghost?
Oh, hello, Mr. Storm. No, but I got a funny feeling. I just saw that girl Captain Hughes once picked up.
You did? Where? When?
Well, just a minute ago. I was walking my beat when this dame comes past me, all dressed in red.
Yeah, go on. What happened then? Where'd she go?
Down the street. She turned into that door down there.
Then come on. In 30 seconds, we were standing before the dark door that Dutton said the girl had turned into. It was partly open.
And that's the door, Mr. Storm. But that's the entrance to where the first storage loft. Now, why should she go in there?
I don't know, but we'll find out.
Then let me go first. I got a gun here. I'll see what's going on inside here.
He pushed the door open and stepped into the dark hall, and then I heard him call out.
Hey, lady, I want to talk to you. Hey, you up there, put on those pants.
Dutton, who shot you? Was it the girl?
No. She was just standing there. It was 2 guys upstairs hijacking the furs.
Dutton. Dutton.
But listen, Storm, you say you didn't see her. Then how do you know it was the same girl?
I know, Captain Hughes. She was acting as a lookout for those fur thieves. She deliberately lured him in there to his death.
Maybe. And maybe not. I'm seriously beginning to doubt if it's the same girl mixed up in all these cases. I think it's just a theory. Your theory.
Well, I'll prove it to you. She's definitely mixed up in the rackets. By now, Nick Murray and his boys must have learned something about her. I'm going over there to find out. When I got to Murray's club, one of the boys showed me up to the office.
Oh, hello, Storm. Sit down.
Thanks, I will.
Can I fix your drink?
No, thanks. I just wondered if you had picked up any trace of that girl I was asking you about.
Peter? No, the boys haven't turned up a thing. You sure you're not just imagining it?
That's what the police are beginning to think, too. But I tell you, I'm not. She's real, all right.
If there was any such girl working in this man's town, I'd know about her by now.
Unless she's awfully smart. And it looks like this one is. Well, I guess I better go and get some sleep. I need it.
Oh, before you go.
Yeah?
I don't know anything about the girl. But tomorrow I may be able to tell you who killed your sidekick, Tom Jarvis.
You may. When?
I won't have the dope until tomorrow night. If you'll meet me around 10, I can give it to you.
I'll meet you. Just say where.
You know the Tambourine Bar on 3rd Avenue?
No, but I can find it.
There's a back room. Meet me there about 10. Come alone.
About 10. I'll be there. I went home, but I didn't get much sleep. I was too keyed up. About 3, I got up and put on a dressing gown and sat down by the window to smoke. And then, behind me,
Hello, Bill Storm.
I turned, and she was there. I started to stand up.
No, stay where you are, Bill. Unless you do, I'll leave.
Rita, why did you come here?
You've been looking for me so hard. I thought I ought to.
Look, I won't touch you or try to make you stay, but let me get up and fix you a drink.
Sorry, Bill, I can't stay. But I wanted to tell you the time's come when I can let you know the truth about me.
You mean you're going to tell me who you are and why you've done what you've done?
Everything, Bill. But not tonight. I'll see you again tomorrow, Bill.
Where? When?
You have an appointment, don't you, with Nick Murray?
Yeah. How do you know? Are you working with him?
Please, don't ask me any questions now. I'll tell you everything tomorrow night. Good night, Bill.
Oh, no, wait. You can't go yet. But she was gone. By the time I reached the door, she was out of sight. Well, I went back to bed. But I didn't get any sleep. I was groggy, punch-drunk. I knew she was guilty, but I wanted to believe she was innocent. And I couldn't. Well, now I'm going to learn the truth. I'm waiting here in the back room of the Tambourine Bar. It's almost 10. I'm just finishing up this report that I started this morning. She should be here soon. So should Nick Murray. If she convinces me she's innocent, I'll tear this up. But if she isn't, well, I'm going to find out because she's coming through the door now.
Hello, Bill.
Hello, Theda. So you did come.
Of course I came. You believe bad things about me, don't you?
Yes. How can I help it?
Believe me, Bill, I'm not wicked. Look at me. See if you really think I'm bad.
She lifted her veil, and at last I saw her face clearly. It was just as I thought it would be. A beautiful face. With dark eyes that I could see into deeper and deeper. Like looking into the heart of night itself.
Now, Bill, do you really think I'm wicked?
Oh, no. No, I don't. But who are you, then? What's your connection with these murders?
You'll know soon. I have to leave now just for a minute or two, just while you talk to Murray. He's coming now.
She slipped out one door while Murray came in the other. Nick closed the door and sat down.
Well, I see you're here on time, Storm.
Yes. If you can tell me who killed Tom Jarvis, I want to know.
That's what I'm here for. 2 of my boys killed him.
2 of your boys?
You see, Joe Nelson killed Rusty Dean for me so I could take over his racket. Then I saw your friend trying to pump Joe. I couldn't afford to take chances. I had to get rid of them both.
And that explains a lot. But what about the girl?
Don't know a thing about her. I think you just made her up as an excuse to come asking questions.
No, I didn't. She's real.
I know better. Because you did see a girl in that apartment where the window washer fell, but not a girl in a red dress. You saw Janice, my girl.
Your girl?
She filed those safety hooks and lost that handkerchief the police found.
You mean you had that fella killed, too?
Little business deal I'm interested in, protection stuff. And last night I decided you were getting to be a nuisance.
That's why I'm telling you this now, because you're not going to pass it on.
Oh, no. No, put that gun away. You can't get away with it.
So long, Storm. We won't be meeting again.
Peter. Peter.
Here I am, Bill.
Peter, call the doctor. Quick.
You'll be all right, Bill. Don't worry.
But I'm your doctor.
Yes?
I know you now. I know where I saw you that time in Chicago.
Yes. I knew you'd remember.
No, stay away from me. Oh, I won't let you come near me. I'm getting out of here. Oh, no, I won't. You're not going to get me like you did the other.
Mr. Storm. Mr. Storm, can you hear me?
Oh. Where am I? You're a nurse.
Yes. You're in Civic Hospital. You were brought here an hour ago, shot in the chest. A policeman found you crawling down 3rd Avenue.
Oh, yeah, I remember. When my detective down, Nick Murray shot me. Get word this morning, let you.
Certainly. Now, please, lie quietly while I go get the doctor. I'll only be a minute. Hello, Bill.
Peter. So you followed me here.
You shouldn't have run away.
I did it because I remembered where I saw you last. In Chicago. The time I was in a taxi accident. I saw you in the other car just before we hit. 3 people were killed.
Yes, Bill, you did see me then. And now you know who I am.
Yes. Now I understand why you were around when those people died. I never expected you to be a beautiful girl.
Why not? Just because people think of me as an ugly old man with a sight, does that make it true? I'm not really ugly, you know. I'm not someone you have to be afraid of.
No. I'm glad that you're beautiful. It makes it easier this way.
Now take my hand, Bill. It's time for us to go.
Yeah, sure. I'm ready.
He recovered consciousness a minute ago, Dr. Clark. I came for you at once. Seemed to be quite strong, and I... Dr. Clark. He's dead.
This is the mysterious traveler again. So that was the secret of the lady in red. Cedar, a strange name. Cheda. I wonder if Bill ever did realize those are the same letters that spelled death. But he did what he set out to do. He learned the truth and avenged his friend. But if you should meet an alluringly beautiful girl who Oh, you have to get off here. I'm sorry. But I'm sure we'll meet again. I take this same train every week at this same time.
You have just heard The Mysterious Traveler, with the title role played by Maurice Tarplin. Others in our cast were Chester Stratton, Joan Tompkins, Joseph DeSantis, and Larry Blythe. Original music composed and played by Al Finelli. All characters in this story were fictitious. Any resemblance to the names of actual persons purely coincidental. Bill Taunton speaking. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You're not Henry Jekyll. The voice isn't his. The words aren't his. What have you done with him?
He's here with me.
Then let him come out.
No, he could never come out.
I'm giving you fair warning. You leave me no choice but to break in the door.
Oh, have you no pity? Can't you let me stay here in my agony?
No, come out of there. What?
Pity, you fiend. Did you have pity on my wife?
Let her go, fool. There's no point in talking anymore.
What shall we do, sir? Shall I get an axe and break in the door?
No, we can't do that. Things have got beyond our control now. We must call in the police.
You mean because of...
We must not touch her. Nothing must be moved.
Could I stay with her, sir? Please? I can't bear to think of her being alone in this dark, dismal place.
Are you sure you feel able to bear it, Poole?
Now that the first shock is over, I feel calmer, sir.
All the same, I think Thomas had better remain with you. Bradshaw and I'll go back to the house. I'll send someone around to the police station right away. Then I'll come back to you.
Could we take one of those pieces of cloth over there and just cover her up, sir?
Yes. Thomas, come and help me.
Oh, my poor girl. My poor girl. She did it because I asked her to. I should never have asked her. I'll never forgive myself. Never. As long as I live.
There. That hides her from your sight. Come along, Bradshaw. We'll go. Bradshaw, you go to the police station and tell them what's happened. Tell them to hurry. We know Hyde's locked in that room now. But at any moment he might take it into his head to break out.
Yes, sir. I'll go right away.
Is that you, Dr. Landon?
Oh, Helen, I was just coming to look for you.
What did you find in there? Is she dead?
Yes. It was instantaneous, I should think.
How dreadful. How unspeakably dreadful. What are you going to do?
I've just sent Bradshaw for the police.
The police?
There's no alternative.
I know. So that's to be the end. The gallows. Strange. He told me once of a prophecy. An old gypsy woman on a windswept heath. She warned him that this would be his fate.
Who were you talking about? Did you know Edward Hyde?
Edward Hyde? Yes. Yes, I knew him. But I knew Henry Jekyll best.
Helen, look at me. Do you feel all right?
I know what you're thinking. Poole told you that I've been ill, didn't he?
Yes.
They thought I'd gone out of my mind. It wasn't so. And you needn't look at me as though you're afraid of it again. I know what I know. Soon you'll see it and know it too.
Can't you tell me what you mean?
I can't tell you. You must see for yourself. You must look on a sight that will freeze the blood in your veins and shake your very life to its foundation.
Helen, what are you talking
about? Oh, don't
about?
ask me. There are no words. You must wait and see what you will see. Listen, what's that?
That's the police. They'll have every man they've got to surround the place.
But there's something else. Open the window and have a look. Look! Just look at those people. Where have they come from?
Goodness only knows.
They're coming this way. Look, the police are forming a cordon to keep them back. How did they get to know?
There only needs to be a whisper of the name of Hyde to arouse them to frenzy. I don't think there's ever been a man before who so filled the common people with loathing. Every man, woman, and child in England has heard of his crimes.
Oh, I can't bear it. Shut the window. Don't let me see.
There. That'll be the police. I'll go down and let them in. Will you wait here?
Yes. Yes, I'll wait.
I think you'd be wise to remain in this room. Things may be a little bit unpleasant downstairs.
Do you think I can shut away the horrors of tonight by shutting the door? Oh, go. 1 or 2 more. What does it matter? If the end must come, let it be soon.
Spoke to him through the door, Dr. Lanyon.
Yes, just a few minutes ago, Inspector. He can't get out without our knowing it. There's only one door.
Is anybody keeping watch?
Yes, 2 men. I don't think we ought to delay too long. He's been out once tonight, and we want no more murders.
You're right, we don't. I'll get my men. The whole place is surrounded now, but we need half a dozen or so to be with us when we break in.
You've got tools?
Yes, an axe and a crowbar.
You'll need them. The door's particularly thick and strong.
Let's get started, then. The men are waiting outside. I'll call them in. This is a strange-looking place. What was it used for?
Dr. Jekyll was very interested in chemical research, Inspector. He has his laboratory out here.
And he and that beast Hyde have been shut up together for the past week.
As far as I know, they have been. But none of us knew about Hyde until tonight.
What on earth could a fine gentleman like the doctor be doing with a brute like that?
Heaven only knows. That's what I've been asking myself ever since I knew.
Well, we'll soon find out. A lot of mysteries are going to be cleared up tonight, I fancy.
Here we are. I'll open the door and let you in. Are you there, Paul?
Yes, sir. Here.
I've brought Inspector Martin and some of his men. Has anything happened since I left? Listen, Inspector. You can hear him now.
Doesn't sound human.
No more ears. Look what he did to my wife. Oh, just look. Isn't that the work of a fiend?
Steady on, old man. You shouldn't have stayed here so long. Do you think the poor soul could be taken across to the house now, Inspector? We thought it better not to move her till you came. But there's no doubt about who did it.
None at all. Yes, there's no point in leaving her here any longer. Ted, you and Harry carry her across. We'll be able to do the job without you. I don't think he'll put up much of a fight from the sound of him.
I wouldn't depend on that if I were you.
Oh, we're all armed. If he shows the least sign of trouble, we'll know how to settle him. No, I'd hate to cheat the hangman of his job.
Hanging's too good for him. If I had my way...
Never mind, Poole, my poor fellow. We know how you feel. But Hyde will pay the penalty. Never fair.
Are you ready, men?
Yes, sir. All ready.
I'll go up to the door. Have your guns ready and be prepared for anything.
Yes, sir.
Open this door in the name of the law.
No.
Edward Hyde, I command you to open this door and come out, or I'll give orders for it to be smashed down.
No, I can't.
I will count 3. 1, 2, 3. Come on, Sergeant Burt. Don't waste time. Down with it. Keep it up. Keep it up, men. We don't want it to slip through our fingers.
Stop!
Wait a minute, Inspector. Helen, my dear, you must go back to the house. This is no place for you.
Oh, it is. I must be here. You don't understand. Please don't break in that door. You don't know what's there.
We know that the murderer of 2 innocent people is there.
And something else. Dr. Lanyon, you're his friend. Don't you realize what you're doing?
Helen, you mustn't get excited like this. You must calm down. What's come over you? Would you have us let this creature go?
But I love him. No matter what he's done or what he's guilty of. I love him.
In pity's name, what are you talking about?
Henry Jekyll. They're the same person. Jekyll and Hyde. If you destroy one, you destroy the other. Oh, can't you understand?
What on earth she's talking about? I haven't got the faintest idea. Helen, please go back to the house. You don't know what you're saying.
I do. Won't anyone believe me? I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it. He came to my house. He swallowed the drug. And I saw him change.
Dr. Lanyon, I think we'd better take her away, sir. This is how she was when the doctor was so worried over her.
Yes, I can see that for myself. Helen, dear, I want you to do as I ask. Won't you go back to the house and leave this grim business to us? Heaven alone knows what we'll see when we do break in that door.
I know what you'll see. You'll see a sight that will strike you dumb with horror, that will freeze the blood in your veins. But I must see it too. I've seen so much, suffered so much. I must see the end. Tell them to go on. I'll be calm. I know it has to be.
Go on, men. Smash in the door.
Unsolved Mysteries. Out of deference to persons who may still be living, character names in some of these true unsolved mysteries have been changed. In presenting Unsolved Mysteries, we cannot overlook the weird and strange happenings which science calls poltergeist. The scene is the home of an American author who has spent more than 25 years tracing down and verifying reported cases of haunted houses and poltergeist manifestations. He is discussing his years of work with a few friends, one a professor of mathematics. The professor speaks.
But really now, no matter what results you may have witnessed, you don't seriously suggest that ghosts are responsible?
I don't think that ghosts is the proper term. The principal thing about poltergeist activities is that decidedly, the disturbances are not due to any human activity.
You can't mean that objects can be moved by any other means than human.
But I do. And to the skeptics, I can provide more proof than anyone can read in a year's time. Here, for instance, is a newspaper clipping from an English paper, the London Daily Mail, August 19th, 1920. 40 policemen took positions in a house on Grove Road. Some of the policemen climbed trees, others watched from the roof. The house was bombed by volleys of stones, as on the 3 previous nights. No investigation could lead to the origin of the stones, and no one could have engineered the manifestation, so closely was the house guarded. I end the quotation. Now, you can hardly say that 40 policemen are the victims of an hallucination.
That is certainly amazing.
Tell me, Herman, what started you off on this type of investigation?
About 30 years ago, I went to spend 6 months at San Cristobal. My father had had many business dealings with a fine Spanish family there by the name of Gutierrez. And I'd been ordered by my doctor to take a vacation, and so I decided that I would visit the son of the man who had been my father's friend. It was a beautiful tropic night when I arrived. Deep, deep blue sky. The stars hung so low that you felt you could almost pluck them from the sky. Hidden in the tropic growth, the birds sang their night songs, and the moon, a big, pale yellow moon, was just rising out of the sea when I drove up to the Gutierrez home.
We have arrived, senor. This is the home of Manuel Gutierrez.
Beautiful. I don't believe I've ever seen anything so picturesque.
So it is my friend, it is Senor Herman?
Yes, Manuel?
Si. Welcome to San Cristobal. Permit me, senor, to introduce my sister, Juanita.
Oh, I'm very glad to know you.
It is more than a pleasure to meet the senor. Our father has spoken of you many times.
But we forget. It is inside we should talk, not out here in the open.
But it's beautiful outside. I was just thinking I'd never seen anything quite as beautiful as I was driving up.
Si, senor. Beautiful, but treacherous the nights.
Treacherous?
Si, the fever. She'll get you if you are not careful. We will go inside.
As the door closes behind them, Herman sees an aged servant standing in the hallway. Mingled fear and horror stares from the man's eyes, and he shakes as though racked by ague. Herman glances first at his host, then at his hostess. Both seem equally afraid to move. Manuel makes a helpless gesture, and then with a supreme effort, he forces the question from his lips.
What is it, Felipe?
Master, I tremble to tell you. The coffins are moved.
The coffins?
You are certain? There can be no mistake?
Oh, no mistake, Master. 2 nights now they have been moved, and I have not told you. But tonight is the 3rd night.
Maria Santissima, we must go and see.
I will go. You must stay and entertain Senor Herman.
I don't know what this is all about, of course, but if I can help...
Oh, there is no help, senor. None.
Oh, now, nothing is ever so bad that there isn't some help.
Juanita, we will have a glass of wine, then we will go to look. We will come within a few minutes, Felipe.
Can you not explain, Manuel?
Si, senor. I will explain. At the back of the house, there is our family vault. For 7 generations, our ancestors have been buried there.
Yes?
The coffins, they are laid in niches. You understand?
Yes, I know the arrangement usual in vaults.
It is a tradition that when one of the family is to die, the coffins will move.
The coffins will move? I don't follow you.
The coffins are laid in the niches. They will remain in their position for years. Then, without warning, one day we find the coffins all moved, lying crosswise, sometimes one on top of the other. All what you say, helter-skelter.
Sometimes 3, 4, perhaps 5 or 6 times, but before the 10th day, someone dies.
But that may be coincidence.
No, senor. For many years now, we have seen the truth of it. When my little sister died, our mother, and only a few years ago, our father.
But someone must be moving the coffins.
Someone who has lived for over 100 years? Or perhaps you think that the business of moving the coffins is passed down from generation to generation. No, senor. Someone in the family is to die. And, senor?
Yes?
There are only 2 of us. My sister, Juanita, and me, Manuel.
Listen, will you let me do something?
What, senor?
I will prove that these coffins are moved by some human agency, if you'll permit me.
It is useless, senor. One does not fight the inevitable. One of us must die.
But, Manuel, if Senor Herman has an idea, we cannot lose anything by trying.
That's it exactly. Say you let me do it.
Very well, senor.
Now, I want a lot of sand. Your servant can get me sand from the beach?
I will get the servants to gather sand. You want it taken to the vault?
Yes, Juanita.
I will see that it is done.
And now, you have a rifle?
See, several rifles.
Let me have 2 of them.
But what?
Come, we will settle this tonight. Lead me to the vault.
It is out this other door, senor. And here is the rack rifles.
Splendid. I'll take these two.
Here is plenty sand. Felipe had it for the driveway.
And here is the vault.
Oh, Senor Manuel, I have moved the coffins back in their places.
Good. Now will you all please go to bed? I'm going to sit here tonight with these rifles. But, Senor, please, let me have my way.
Then, good night, Senor.
Good night, Senor Herman.
Herman takes the sand into the vault. Carefully, he sprinkles it over the rock floor. If anyone tries to walk on this floor, they'll leave traces, he thinks to himself as he backs out of the vault, covering the last few feet with the fine beach sand. He swings the door shut, drops the bar, and locks it in place. Then, sitting down on the stone bench, he holds one of the rifles across his knee and watches. Morning. Herman opens the vault. Horror grips him as he gazes at the tumbled and disarranged coffins. Then his eyes sweep the sanded floor. Not a ripple in the sand. Not a footmark. The sand is as he had sprinkled it the night before. Again he looks at the coffins. Heavy oak caskets that one man could not move alone. Yet they had been moved, and no one had entered the vault. In just a moment you will hear an explanation of the mystery of the coffins of San Cristobal.
We'll be right back with Act 2 of this unsolved mystery after we take a short break. Welcome back. You're just in time for Act 2 of this unsolved mystery on When Radio Was.
Ladies and gentlemen, inasmuch as any solution must of necessity be supposition, liberties of time, place, and characters have been taken with the solution for which you have been waiting. We return to Herman's home, where his friends question him regarding the extraordinary occurrence.
And you know positively that no one entered the vault?
Yes.
And what of the curse?
Late that afternoon, I found Manuel at the foot of the cliffs, dead. He had fallen, or else he killed himself so that his sister Juanita might be freed from the curse.
Oh, but the thing is impossible.
Well, now, let me read you an excerpt, condensed from the Encyclopedia Britannica. We may call this thing telehorridy, or a racket or noise produced from a distance. It may be worthwhile to note that the phenomena are often regarded as death warnings.
And even encyclopedias seem to accept the poltergeist as an actual fact.
There's no use sitting back and saying such things don't happen when we have ample evidence by reputable people that they do happen. I think the best explanation is, and remember, even scientists who investigate these things do not agree on what causes them. But my theory is that in the same way in which a person alive can move an object without touching it, so then can the mischievous spirit of someone dead do the same thing.
Meaning that the same mind force which can move objects while that mind force is actuated by a living person can continue to function after the person has died?
Yes. If a person is blessed or cursed with a mind sufficiently powerful to move material, inanimate objects, then it is equally possible that death cannot destroy that mind force, and so it continues to function, causing what we call the work of a poltergeist.
I'd like to read something about these authentic cases.
Then I recommend that you read the proceedings of the Society for Psychical Research. An article by Myers, Volume 7, pages 146 to 198. Also, Volume 4, pages 29 to 38. You will also find that Wesley, the Reverend Wesley, who wrote the hymns, kept a daily diary of poltergeist happenings in his home. And I think you'll agree that he was above trickery or deception, and that his descriptions are descriptions in which all reliance can be placed.
And its 96,000 dealers bring you Mr. Jeff Chandler in a story taken from life. Tonight's presentation of Suspense.
Tonight, Autolite presents The Case Against Loo Doc, a factual document concerning the San Francisco Tong Wars, starring Mr. Jeff Chandler.
Hello, Harlow.
Hi, Hap. How's it going?
Oh, horrible, if you mean my car. It wastes gas. It's tough to start.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go straight, Hap?
Straight, Harlow?
Sure. Straight to your nearest Autolite spark plug dealer for a spark plug checkup. You see, Hap, the spark plugs are the heart of your car's ignition system, and they've got to be right. Now, he's got the exclusive Autolite plug check indicator that tells in an instant whether your spark plugs are right for your style of driving.
Well, suppose my plugs only need cleaning.
Why, Hap, your Autolite spark plug dealer has the specialized equipment to do the job properly. And if replacements are needed, he'll recommend ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs, resistor or standard type, to give you smoother performance, quick starts, and gas savings. So, friends, see your neighborhood Autolite spark plug dealer soon. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, with The Case Against Loo Doc and the performance of Mr. Jeff Chandler, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
Lieutenant Sonjak, take your men, go up to the other end of the alleyway. Plant them back in the doorways. It's plenty dark, they won't be seen. I'll do the same down at this end. The signal to move will be a sharp blast of the whistle. You got that? Right. All right, man, you heard the captain.
Where's the VA?
Over there.
Oh, yeah.
Thompson, let's get this thing back.
Looks like I'm right on time.
Oh, Glasgow, I'm glad you got here.
Hey, this must be an important one. Looks like the whole San Francisco police force is here.
It's a big one, believe me. Oh, you know Captain of Detectives Wilbur?
Yeah, we've met.
And this Lieutenant Sonjak.
I'm glad to meet you.
Glasgow, the men all have their instructions, DA.
Good. Then take your positions.
Okay, men, let's go. All right, Thompson.
Yeah. You want to come along with me, Glasgow? Our stakeout's down about midway in the alley.
All right, with you.
It's a laundry. There's a vacant storeroom upstairs. We can watch it from up there.
The message you left for me back at the newspaper office wasn't too explicit, Mr. D.A.
Well, tonight's the night we've been waiting for.
More murder and mayhem.
Perhaps.
Look, you've arrested hundreds of Chinese before, all members of some town. What good did it do?
Well, none. Just arresting the hatchet man isn't the answer. No, sir. Well, this is it.
Smells empty.
The Chinese laundryman who ran this shop was hacked to death in the last Tong battle they held along here. Come along. Up those stairs.
Who's having it out tonight?
The Hop Ying Tong and the On Sings. Well?
Kum Ji Ho and Loo Doc.
Yeah. The two most popular and powerful Tong leaders.
I agree with you as far as Kum Ji Ho is concerned, but as for Loo Doc...
I'm more determined than ever to get him. This man lives a double life, Glasgow. By day, a sweet, smiling, and innocent silk merchant. And by night, a ruthless murderer of his countrymen.
He won't stop the Tongs by convicting Loo Doc.
Well, we'll be able to see everything from this window. Clear night.
Yeah. A million stars in the sky. We stood next to the open window above the laundry shop, fearless District Attorney Red Muccia and I, and we waited. From the window we could see down into the dimly lit street called Spofford Alley. A narrow street lined on either side with butcher markets, curio shops, tea parlors, and more laundries. In some of those shops, fronts for hidden gambling dens, sultry, air-oppressed opium dens. Loo Doc, the man the DA accused of being the most notorious tongue leader in San Francisco, was all of that. But he was more. Loo Doc was my friend. He was a man of principles. Born in San Francisco and wanting to adapt himself to the ways of his Western brothers, he'd learned to speak, read, and write a pronounced English. He'd educated himself from the thoughts and ideas of the Western world. I knew Loo Doc. I had my doubts that he was going to show up in Spofford Alley tonight.
Cigarette, Glasgow?
Yeah, thanks. What makes you so sure Loo Doc and Kum Ji Ho are going to show tonight?
They're bitter enemies. When Kum Ji Ho learned that Loo Doc's brother was in love with one of his favorite sing-song girls, he challenged the Hoppy Ings.
What's the girl's name?
Toy. She's a dancer at the Golden Lamp.
Oh?
On surface, the incident is just a spark to ignite the flame, Glasgow. You know that as well as I do. The real battle is being fought for supremacy. Almost 12. Any minute now.
We didn't have long to wait. Because at exactly 12 o'clock, a loud, shrill cry rang out at one end of Spofford Alley. And at the other end of the alleyway, the reply. And another full-scale tongue war began. There were at least 50 black-suited Chinese with their plates shoved into dark slouch hats that met head-on in the alley. Their hatches reflected the moonlight as they crashed open enemy heads, and long, gleaming daggers found their marks in soft, easy flesh. And as the police moved in, they scattered in every direction, stumbling over the dead and wounded. But the police were efficient. They'd holed up both ends of the alley, and it looked like they'd rounded up every one of the boo-how doi that was alive. The district attorney paced the floor of the storeroom, his hands nervously twisting behind him as he waited for his captain of detectives to report to him. Then we heard heavy steps coming up the stairs. In a few moments, 3 men appeared at the head of the landing. Captain Wilburn, his Lieutenant Sanjak, and a smiling, dark-haired Chinese with his hands tied behind him.
DA.
Well, where's the other one?
He disappeared.
What do you mean he disappeared?
I don't know, DA. He was in mixing it up with the rest of them. I know, I saw him. But after we had the rest of them rounded up, I couldn't find him.
How did you know it was Loo Doc, Captain?
The big head. I recognize his big head.
You can't accuse a
Bring
man
that other one over here.
Okay. You, move. This is the one they call Kum Ji Ho.
I know why you started this one, Kum Ji Ho.
Oh, yes.
How did Loo Doc manage to escape?
Oh, yes. Loo Doc. Very fine silk merchant. Yes.
Don't stall with me. It'll go a lot easier on you.
You know you're not going to get this man to talk.
We'll see about that. Now, I want the names of every boo-how doi that fought in the alley tonight.
Chan, Talo, D.I.A.
What was that?
I think he said he wants his lawyer before he speaks another word.
Correct.
A lawyer?
Yes. Thank you.
Well, I never heard of it.
Looks like tonight wasn't the night you thought it was going to be, D.A. I'm afraid your net results are 0. District Attorney Muccia wasn't going to get Kum Ji Ho to inform on Loo Doc, no matter how hard he tried. For a Tong member to testify or inform on another, even your most hated enemy, which was a rival Tong, was certain death. And in most cases, members of your own tongue would carry out the death sentence. In the wild confusion of that battle, it would have been impossible to tell whether Loo Doc had taken part in it. Captain of detectives sworn he'd seen him. I wanted to know for sure, so the following morning I went to his house of business. The little old Chinese sitting behind the counter didn't even glance up at me as I entered. I walked over to the door of Lou's office and knocked. A voice yelled enter in Chinese, and I did. I opened the door. Seated behind a bleached rattan desk sat the man with his big head, rocking back and forth. Loo Doc.
Hello, Dan. It is nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you.
Please to sit. I was just about to serve tea.
Thanks.
Oh, I beg your pardon. This Dan is my beloved brother, Tommy. Mr. Dan Glasgow of San Francisco Tribune.
How do you do, Mr. Glasgow?
Hello, Tommy.
You take tea with lemon, I believe.
Right.
I am most happy of this surprise visit, then. Here you are.
Thanks.
Most delicious.
There were 7 men killed in last night's Tong War, Loo Doc.
Tell me, Dan, do you prefer the Chinese or Indian tea?
I said 7 men were killed in last night's Tong battle.
Tommy. Jiao Qingdong.
胡小毛，你好，基友。
What's the matter? My words too strong for your brother's sensitive ears?
Dan, if you were not a true friend, I would easily kill you with my own hand for such remark.
I'm sorry, Loo Doc.
You, as I, believe in righteous principles. It was upon this discovery that I grow very fond of you.
I've honored our friendship.
In the ways of your Western world are many things that my people do not understand. Among my people are certain things which the Occidental does not understand.
But cold-blooded murder is not a way that either world should have to understand.
True. But I have read in the Western world books, I read of organization called California Vigilance Committee.
Oh, look, that committee
is to protect the innocent from the guilty.
Yes, no argument. But for the protection.
In Hap Ying Tong is protection for my people. Now comes time when most beloved brother falls in love with sing-song girl named Atoy. He wishes to marry with her. She returns his love. It must be so.
And so in order to bring about this marriage, hundreds of men may lose their lives.
If it is as the gods design.
Yes. There's nothing that I can say that can convince you to settle the whole thing peaceably?
In China, perhaps by tribunal, but in San Francisco, then, is not probable. We must settle this difference by other means.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Loo Doc. I'm sorry for your people.
There is no one upon whose heart this sorrow hangs heavier than mine.
And with that, Loo Doc rose up from his chair. Stood staring at me for a moment through tear-filled eyes. And then he turned and strode majestically out of the room, his large head bent as if in prayer. In the weeks that followed, for some unknown reason or other, the Tong Wars slowed down to practically a standstill. There'd been only a couple of hatchet murders in 2 months. Oh, it seemed almost too good to be true. And then on January 4th, I received a phone call from the DA's office about 4 in the afternoon. His voice had a smile in it.
Well, it took someone else to do it, Glasgow, but it was done.
What was done?
About an hour ago in Ross Alley, 2 Tong men shot a man and then hacked his face to ribbons with their hatchets. When Captain Wilburn got down there, he identified the man.
Who was it?
The man we've been after. Your good friend, Loo Doc.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Jeff Chandler in The Case Against Loo Doc. Tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Say, Harlow, just what does ignition engineered mean?
Well, Hap, it means that Autolite spark plugs are tops in quality and performance. That's because they're designed by the same Autolite engineers who designed the coil, distributor, and all the other important parts that make up complete ignition systems, used as original equipment on many leading makes of our finest cars, trucks, and tractors.
Well, that's a pretty good reason to use them, Harlow.
It's the best, Hap. So have your Autolite spark plug dealer replace worn-out spark plugs with either standard or resistor-type Autolite spark plugs for smoother performance, quick starts, and gas savings. They just don't come any better than Autolite.
Autolite spark plug dealers offer the best spark plug service money can buy, too, Harlow.
Right you are, Hap. So, friends, to quickly learn his address, call Western Union by number and ask for Operator 25. She'll gladly tell you the location of your nearest Autolite spark plug dealer. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Jeff Chandler in Elliot Lewis's production of The Case Against Loo Doc, a dramatic report well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Loo Doc had been my friend. And the realization of what an impact his death would have on his following hit me. It was to be a great loss for them. I hung up the phone and decided to go down to the police station. When I got there, the desk sergeant lifted a tired finger and told me that Captain Wilburn was back in the morgue with Lieutenant Sonjak.
I'm in Glasgow. The DA said you might be down.
So you finally got Loo Doc?
We didn't. A couple of rival tongmen that did the job.
Did you pick him up?
Nope. Got away. Want to take a look at him? The bloody.
Yeah.
Over here. All right, Sonjak. Turn down the sheet.
No.
See what I mean when I say bloody?
His face.
His own mother wouldn't recognize him.
How do you know it's Loo Doc?
By the head. Take a look at the head, what's left of it. Doc had a big head, almost out of proportion to the rest of his body. That's how I know it's him.
But still,
Look, Glasgow, the DA's told me how you feel about this guy. I don't want any trouble from you. This man is Loo Doc. I positively identify him as the notorious tongue leader of the Hop Yings. Do you care to challenge that statement?
No. No, of course not.
Then you will admit this is Loo Doc.
Sure, Captain, I admit it. That's Loo Doc. I admitted it because the thought suddenly occurred to me that here was the opportunity I'd been waiting for. The dead man lying on the slab in the police morgue was not Loo Doc. The police had no positive identification as to who the man was, but it looked like a perfect way to ease the pressure that was being brought to bear on them. Captain Wilburn knew that faceless man was not Loo Doc as well as I did. The following morning, I went to the business house of Loo Doc, the soap merchant. And just as I'd expected, the name on the door had been changed. Next door was a gambling parlor. I gave the password at the door and was admitted. I sat down at one of the fantan tables and began playing. I hadn't been playing long when I suddenly felt the presence of someone familiar standing next to me. 3.
Sheep.
Hello, Loo Doc.
Hello, Dan. Happy to meet with you.
Is there somewhere we can talk?
Come. Owner of this establishment is a good friend of mine. We shall use his office.
All right, you lead the way.
Come. In here. Now, we are alone.
You're still hale and hearty, even though you're dead.
That is not good joke.
Take it you read the morning papers.
Oh, yes.
In time to change the name on your place of business.
You were pleased to see elimination of Loo Doc, weren't you, my friend?
You want the truth?
Our most precious bond, Dan.
Yes, Loo Doc, I was, because now it's no longer necessary for you to work with any tongue.
It surprises me that you, of all persons I respect, should think that way. There's great work yet to be done among my people.
Forget the work, Lou. It's a battle that won't be won until every tongue is disbanded.
And if I leave, what then? Kumjiho and his tongue take over leadership in San Francisco? The terror that exists now will seem, my friend, a mere particle.
What about the police?
The police are satisfied, you know that. The notoriety and publicity that have gone before will no longer continue to follow me.
The Hopyings will continue to exist and you still behind them.
Yes, my friend, to make decisions. I will set up puppet leader. But their rival, Kumjiho, will always know that still sitting on the throne of the Hopyings is Loo Doc, the man he fears.
I'm a newspaper man. I have to print the truth. You know that.
Yes, my friend, I know. I also know something else.
Yeah?
I also know, Dan Glasgow, you are a true friend of Loo Doc.
And he was right. I knew the fight within myself had begun. To know that he was still alive, and yet never to print that fact. Because in doing so, I'd have to betray his friendship. A windy night in February, I was working late in the office. It was about 8 o'clock when one of the reporters came in and told me that Tommy Yushu, Loo Doc's brother, had been trapped in the cafe of his dancer girlfriend, Art Toy. I rushed down to Dagger Alley. There wasn't a soul in sight. I started to walk. It was cold and heavy wind was blowing, but my hands were soaking wet with perspiration as I made my way up the cobblestone walk to the Golden Lamp. I imagined 100 eyes staring at me from dark doorways. Then I was in front of the cafe. I walked up to the door. It was bolted. Tommy Yushu. It's me, the newspaper man, Dan Glasgow. Let me in. Let me in, Tommy. Hurry. Thanks.
What are you doing here?
Word leaked out the Unsings had you hold up here.
They sure do. You took an awful chance coming up that alleyway.
Why'd you risk your neck here for coming here?
Our toy, Mr. Glasgow.
Oh, I see.
We planned to leave tonight, secretly. Somehow they learned of our plans. It was our toy's father who betrayed us.
Her father?
Please, Tommy. My father was threatened. There was nothing he could do. I'm willing to die with Tommy.
Does Loo Doc know you're here?
No.
Then call him. Tell him to call the police.
You have talked with my brother, Mr. Glasgow. You know he would never do that.
But you'll never get out of here alive.
Then it must be so.
Oh, I don't understand it. You'd be willing to commit suicide because of some silly, superstitious, and clannish idea that the only way to deal out justice is through force. Well, you and your brother and everybody who thinks that way, Tommy, are wrong. Maybe the idea of tongues originally were good ideas, but the goodness has gone out of them. I'm going to call the police.
One moment, Mr. Glasgow. I'm sorry, but I cannot allow you to do that.
All right, Tommy, you can put away the gun. I won't call him. Can I call your brother?
Perhaps that is best.
Thanks. Tommy gave me a number to call. Loo Doc answered the phone himself. His voice remained strangely calm when I told him what the situation was. He told me he was coming right down, warned me to stay in the cafe. Then I hung up. The three of us, Tommy Yushu, the sing-song girl Art Toy, and myself, sat down and waited. 20 minutes later, I heard a car screech to a halt down at the end of Dagger Alley. I opened one of the small windows, stuck my head out, and looked down the narrow street. A long black car was parked at the curb. Then the car door opened, and Loo Doc stepped out, alone. And he began his long walk up the cobblestones to the cafe. He walked slowly, staring straight ahead. His body firm, rigid, in one position. It was just the movement of his legs. Wearing a long black coat, he looked like a giant as he took long strides, holding his oversized head high. Lou?
Hello, Doc.
You better get inside. There must be at least 25 of them out there.
I'm all right. Tell Tommy to come out.
But, Lou, you don't have a chance.
They won't attack me. They haven't the nerve. Tell Tommy to come up.
Tommy, he wants you to go with him.
I've got to go, Artoy, but I'll be back. Do not fear, my beloved.
Tell him to hurry, Doc.
Tommy.
I'm going. Hello, my brother.
And you.
Good to see you.
Goodbye, Doc. I see you soon again.
Soon, Lou Doc. The two of them began their long walk back to the end of Dagger Alley. Lou Doc's hand closed tightly around his brother's arm, walking slowly but steadily toward the black car. They weren't 10 feet from it when from out of one of the dark doorways a figure jumped into view. It was Come Ji-ho. Come Ji-ho let go with 4 wild shots. Lou Doc whirled, covering his brother, at the same time whipping out a gun and firing. Tommy opened the door of the car, got in and started it up. Then Lou Doc fell to his knees, still firing. Tommy gunned the car away. Lou Doc pitched forward on his face, emptying his gun. Come Ji-ho dropped to the pavement, clawing at his bloody face. He twitched for just a moment. And then he lay still. When I got to Lou Doc, he was still alive, but bleeding badly. He looked up at me.
Much pain, my friend. Much pain.
There'll be an ambulance any minute now, Lou. Just hold on.
This is not death I prayed my ancestors to give me then. I die lying on wet pavement in dark alley at night. My wounds bleed friend.
Lou, you're not gonna die, Lou.
Our most precious bond, truth in our friendship. Promise me. Promise as you hold me in your arms, my friend, that in stories that will be written, in one of them, someone will write, someone will write that beneath
beneath the cloak of the legend of his notorious reputation, there existed a man who believed in the principles of righteousness for all his fellow men. Who is there who can sit in judgment and proclaim that there was any case but goodness against the man named Lou Doc?
Suspense. Presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Jeff Chandler.
This is Harlow Wilcox speaking for Autolite, world's largest independent manufacturer of automotive electrical equipment. During the early months of 1952, the Autolite family will join together in saluting the leading car manufacturers who install Autolite products as original equipment right on their assembly lines. Our Autolite family is made up of the nearly 30,000 men and women in 28 great Autolite plants from coast to coast, and in still other Autolite plants in many foreign countries. Our family also includes more than 18,000 people who have invested a portion of their savings in Autolite, as well as 96,000 Autolite distributors and dealers in the United States and thousands more in Canada and throughout the world. The Autolite family will have the privilege of saluting the Plymouth division of Chrysler Corporation on the next Suspense television program. If you live in a television area, check the day and time of Suspense on television so that you won't miss this program. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.